You're listening to Armchair QB South. Please like and subscribe today. Find us on Facebook and Twitter for live broadcasts and breaking news. Armchair Quarterback South, giving a Southern voice to the world of sports.
CBS Sports Radio.
I'm 7-0 this season.
You auto-drafted.
That's what all the great GMs do. They delegate.
You didn't do anything.
Yeah, I did. I set the cue.
Without fantasy football, what would friends talk about?
I almost wore shorts today.
Oh.
I was going to do a sweatshirt shorts combo. Switched to pants instead.
Armchair.
Saturday mornings, the Armchair Quarterbacks, a Southern tradition like no other. We dive into the Southeastern Conference and the Southern teams in the National Football League. We talk the betting lines, fantasy football. So join us Saturday mornings and get your football weekend started right with the Armchair Quarterbacks, 9 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern, right here on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel.
It's important to remember the value of taking time for ourselves to do the things that help us grow and explore, like learning something new. And now with the Great Courses Plus, it's never been easier to experience the joys of learning. The Great Courses Plus offers thousands of streaming videos that cover hundreds of fascinating topics, from World War II to choosing the perfect wine. You can even take a course on the U.S. government or dealing with stress and anxiety. And because the Great Courses Plus partners with world-class professors and experts, you're always receiving thoroughly vetted, high-quality content from every lecture. Plus, you can watch or listen anytime, anywhere with the Great Courses Plus app. So take a little time for you. Sign up for the Great Courses Plus today for a free month of unlimited access. Visit thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio to get started. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio.
Hey, Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Magee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. We were here for every great moment last October and bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling waxed paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
I think my jersey was one of the top-selling jerseys around the world. It was like Kobe, LeBron, and then I was right behind them, and I didn't make a dollar from it. But nor did I want to, because I knew going into college what it was all about. I knew going to my dream school where I wanted to go, the passion for it. And if I could support my team, support my college, support my university, that's what it's all about. But now we're changing it from us, from my university, from being an alumni where I care, which makes college football and college sports special, to then, okay, it's not about us, it's not about we, it's just about me. And yes, I know we live in a selfish culture where it's all about us, but we're just adding and piling it onto that, where it changes what's special about college football. We turn it into the NFL, where who has the most money, that's where you go. That's why people are more passionate about college sports than they are about NFL. That's why the stadiums are bigger in college than they are in the NFL, because it's about your team, it's about your university, it's about where my family wanted to go. And you're taking that away so that young kids can earn $1. And that's just not where I feel like college football needs to go.
Armchair.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
I'm Amy Lauren, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Join the Armchair Quarterback Show for its 9th season. And this year, we're doing it all in one show. Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern, we'll be talking college football, the SEC, the Big Ten, other big games of the day. We'll be diving into the National Football League, focusing on the Southern football teams and all the big matchups throughout the land, and doing it while covering the point spreads, the over-unders, the prop bets, fantasy football. We'll tell you who to start and who to sit, and everybody's favorite, the stupid underdog picks. We'll cover Major League Baseball all the way through October and beyond. It's the Armchair Quarterback Show, 9 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern, Saturday mornings on Armchair Quarterback's YouTube channel. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. Please like and subscribe today, youtube.com, Armchair Quarterback South. Saturday mornings and Wednesday evenings, along with pop-up shows and our sister station, youtube.com at Braves Country.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. The National Football League gets going early, Sunday morning, 9:30 Eastern from Munich, Germany. It's the Seattle Seahawks, a 2.5-point dog against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. 1 o'clock Eastern, Broncos are 2.5-point dog at Tennessee in Nashville. 39 is the over-under. Jags are at the Chiefs. KC, 9.5-point favorite. 51 is the line. Browns, Dolphins, Miami, 3.5-point favorite. Over-under is 49. Texans, 4.5-point favorite. Over-under is 40.5. And the Colts, 4.5-point favorite at the Raiders. Over-under is 41. Jeff Saturday's head coaching debut. Vikings are at the Bills. Questions surrounding whether or not Josh Allen will play or not. The Bills are a 3-point favorite. Over-under is just 43. Bears are a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Lions. Over-under 48.5. Saints and Steelers, over-under is 40. New Orleans, 1.5-point favorite. Dallas, -4 at Green Bay. The over-under is 44. Cardinals and Rams, LA, 3-point favorite. Over-under is 40. Sunday night brings you the Chargers and the 49ers. San Fran, a touchdown favorite. 45.5 is the over-under. Monday night football game is the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Commies are 11-point dog. Over-under is 43.5. College football week 11 begins at noon Eastern. Let's take a look at the SEC slate. On CBS, the Tennessee Volunteers, number 5 in the land, they host the Missouri Tigers. Vols are 19.5-point favorites. The over-under, 57. On the SEC network, it's number 24 Kentucky hosting Vanderbilt. Wildcats, -17.5. Over-under sits at 47. LSU, number 7 in the country, coming off the win against Alabama. They're a 4-point favorite at Arkansas. That kickoff is noon Eastern on ESPN. At 3:30 Eastern, the SEC game of the week on CBS. Number 9, Alabama, trying to rebound off of 2 recent losses. They travel to the Grove at Ole Miss, who's number 11 and 8-1. The Tide are 12-point favorites. Over-under is 65. 6-3 South Carolina, they go to the Swamp, 4 o'clock Eastern on the SEC network. Gamecocks are an 8-point underdog at the Gators. Over-under is 59. At 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs are at Mississippi State. The Cowbells, 16.5-point underdogs. Over-under 52. 7:30 Eastern on SEC network, Texas A&M 3-6. Auburn at 3-6. Battle of the have-nots. The Tigers are a 1.5-point favorite on the Plains. Over-under is 48. ACC matchups of interest at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. Louisville 6-3 on the season. They're at number 10 Clemson, who's 8-1, 6-0 in the conference, coming off that loss to Notre Dame. On ESPN Plus, the Hurricanes and Yellow Jackets are set to kick off at 3:30. Georgia Tech is favored by 1. The over-under is 44. At 7:30 Eastern, number 15 North Carolina, who is 8-1 on the year, 5-0 in the conference. They travel to Wake Forest, who's 6-3. The Demon Deacons are a 4-point favorite. Over-under is 78. 8 o'clock Eastern on the ACC network, number 23 Florida State is at 6-3 Syracuse. Seminoles are an 8-point favorite. The over-under is 51. Big Ten action begins on Fox at noon Eastern. Number 2 Ohio State is set to crush Indiana in the Horseshoe. A 40-point favorite. Over-under is 61. The number 3 Michigan Wolverines host Nebraska. 30.5-point favorite. Nebraska's quarterback out again. The over-under is 49. 5-4 Purdue is at Illinois, who's ranked 21 in the country. The Fighting Illini are 6.5-point favorite. Over-under 44.5. That game is at noon on ESPN2. 3:30 game on Fox. 6-3 Maryland at number 14 Penn State. The Nittany Lions are a 10-point favorite. Over-under is 57. On FS1 at 3:30, 5-4 Wisconsin at 5-4 Iowa. It's a pick'em. The over-under is just 35. At noon on ABC, Notre Dame is a 17-point favorite, ranked number 20 in the country. That over-under is 39.5. Number 22 UCF, they're a 1-point dog at Tulane, who's number 17 in the country. 3:30 on ESPN2. The ABC game of the week, 7:30 Eastern kickoff. Number 4 TCU is a 7.5-point dog at number 18 Texas. On Fox, 7 o'clock, number 25 Washington is a 12.5-point dog at number 6 Oregon, while Kansas State is a 2.5-point dog at 6-3 Baylor. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Please like and subscribe today. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterback Show.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Rum and Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? I'm trying to save the pump. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing? Do you know what's going to happen if...
Hyperbole is done. Now we can finally play the game.
We are live in Tallahassee, the capital of the great state of Florida.
That's Desmond Howard going in motion on 2nd down and 5 for Michigan, playing on real grass at Michigan Stadium. Throw it to the sideline. It is intercepted. Florida State was six.
Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to be right back. It's going to win the football game.
Dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football.
There we go.
The throw down, he's going to go deep. I mean deep, and I mean touchdown. It's a miracle finish.
Barkley trying to bounce it. And
That's a so 79 yards. It's a 31-30 game. And what does
What are they
Nebraska
doing?
do?
I have not seen the kicker come on the field, and I don't think he's coming on the field. Tom Osborne made this decision a long time ago. He's decided to go for 2 and take a shot at winning. I commend him for it.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. The Seminoles of Florida State. It's a battle for flagging rights and recruiting advantages in the state of Florida as the Gators come calling. And Chief Osceola ready to get it started. Tallahassee.
Pretty flush. Throws it down.
caught by Boston College. I don't believe it.
Today, we've got number 1 Seminoles against number 2 Hurricanes.
Good Saturday morning to you. How the hell are you, Doug? Doug, you need to hit the unmute button. How are you this morning, Doug?
Good, doing good.
So we have not talked in quite a minute because we did not have a show last week. I do apologize to folks, but I was in a really bad way. And without boring people with a lot of details, this time last week, I was in the emergency room. So I am supposedly, and we are ready to roll here on Armchair Quarterbacks, Armchair QB South. Please like and subscribe today. We're trying to build this channel up this year. Last time we talked, Doug, the Astros were not World Series champions. They are. And the last time we talked, they had a general manager and they gave him a 1-year offer. And he told him to kick rocks. I just won a World Series for you. I just won back-to-back pennants. I made it to the championship series 3 consecutive years. And you're going to give me a 1-year deal because Dusty Baker only got a 1-year deal because he's 73 years old, excuse me.
Yep.
Can you believe that?
No, I was stunned by that. I was going, what? Now, but with the Astros in that front of the house with them, I'm shocked, but at the same time, if you look at their history of their decisions they've made over the years, maybe not so shocked. So,
look, I know that they believe that Lunau was the one that built the team, and and there's something to be said for that. He did bring in majority of the players, but this guy's been there the last 3 years. He cleaned up the mess that was Lunau and won you a World Series championship. Bare minimum, that guy deserves a 3-year deal. That is bare minimum. And it's not like they just found him off the trash heap. The guy came over from the Tampa Bay Rays organization. So I say you get what you pay for, and they're gonna for whatever the reasoning that they're gonna go somewhere else. And I don't expect them back in the World Series next year. I think whoever takes over is gonna have some pressure on them, and I think we're gonna get some new blood in the World Series next year. But anyways, moving on from that, because this is a Houston Astros show, and we are going to get to football here in 1 second, but I did want to touch on the Major League Baseball free agency frenzy that has started. Now, it's not like football and NBA, and I do think they need to fix that. I think they need to shorten the window. And the reason why I say that is because if you shorten the window, you're going to get more activity in quicker stance. So I have said this for a while, but I believe you should not start the free agency in Major League Baseball until heading into the weekend of the winter meetings, which normally happen the second Sunday in December. Right. And you start it then. And then maybe you put something in play there where something to incentivize teams to hit the ground running, right? Because the first couple of weeks of Major League Baseball free agency is usually pretty quiet, and it was again this year. If you did miss the news, Edwin Diaz re-signs with the Mets, 5-year, $102 million contract. That may sound like a lot, but the AAV, if for a qualifying offer, would have been 19.6. So he's right in that wheelhouse. The only difference is they're giving him 5 years, and a lot of folks don't want to do that for relievers because they're worried about the volatility.
Mm-hmm.
The Rays did trade G-Man Choi to the Pirates, and Tampa Bay got in exchange a minor league pitcher of Jack Hartman. And then the other big news is San Diego locked up Robert Suarez, who's a phenomenal relief pitcher, for 5-year, $46 million. So they got him for less than half of what Diaz is. So you got to look at the market, and you got to figure, I mean, that's a pretty damn good deal. Suarez is a young man, so he's probably thinking, hell, I'll take $46 million. But all in all, it's a pretty good deal for the Padres. He was their setup man here, but I could realistically see him being the closer in the very near future. And then, to no one's surprise, Clayton Kershaw re-signs another 1-year deal because it is that time of year where he signs a 1-year deal with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all that being said, and we head into what could be a big time, we'll say the next 3 to 4 weeks, where you're probably going to start getting some big name players coming in. What guys are you most interested in, and what rumors are you hearing?
First one I'm interested in is where Trey Turner's going to end up, because that's very intriguing to me. Because the rumors I've heard that it's down to 2 teams for him. And again, always with a lot of these big signings, it's also going to be depending on what Aaron Judge does. But with that said, I've heard a rumor, and that he may end up playing for of all teams, the Cardinals. That's just a way out there crazy rumor. I don't think he'll be a Dodger again. I think he'll end up either on the East Coast with Philly. But the intriguing thing is the Cardinals before Thursday had put feelers out about bringing him in. That's a player that they're definitely eyeing on. But again, that's just a big fat rumor as far as Trey Turner, and that's interesting. Another interesting one for me is where Jacob deGrom is going to end up. Do the Mets re-sign him? I could see Jacob deGrom ending up being a Texas Ranger. And that's intriguing to me, too, because the Rangers are just absolutely going nuts for signing pitchers. The Rangers have basically made – oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, the thing about the Rangers is if you're deGrom and you go to the Rangers, it's because you really, really want out of New York and you don't care about winning. Because deGrom's only got about 3-4 years left in his prime at the most.
Right.
He'll be 35 on opening day. So do the math. I say 4 years tops. And not to mention the fact the guy's been brittle as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that he is going to pick the team who gives the most money. I don't think Cohen will be outbid by anybody, but he could drive the price up, and then Jacob deGrom takes the deal from Texas. There's been rumors of Atlanta. I'm not buying it. I think Atlanta has other needs that can be a lot. I would rather see Atlanta sign Dansby Swanson back and then go after one of the pitchers who might be considered just a tier below Jacob deGrom, but it could give you some stability. Because look, we proved in 2021, you don't have to have an all-out ace to win the World Series.
True.
Because Max Fried, as well as he pitched in Game 6 of the World Series, he did not pitch worth a damn leading up to that.
Right.
So I do think Atlanta's going to try to bolster the pitching staff. But at the same token, I would be shocked to see them go out for that. Now, with that being said, man, Anthopoulos does stuff all the time that I'm like, holy hell, didn't see that coming. But talking about the pitchers, I'm going to rattle them off real quick. Normally I share the screen, but I just don't have time to pull it all up. The guy that I like the most, but he's going to really ask for a lot of money, is Carlos Rodon. And I like Rodon over deGrom because he's 30 years old, so he's 5 years younger. and he's a left-hander, and he's nasty, and he's a ground ball pitcher too with strikeout. So he's a guy that in that Atlanta Truist Park could really play well in that stadium. Look, every time he's came into Atlanta, he's given us fits. He gives us fits because it's hard to elevate the ball on him. You got Jacob deGrom out there. You've got Nathan Eovaldi, Chris Bassett, Justin Verlander. He's interesting because he's going to win the Cy Young, which, by the way, I predicted. But he's going to be 41 next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, or he'll be 40 at a season opening. Man, that is a lot to ask to go out. He's going to be looking for a Max Scherzer type deal. The 3-year, 43, 44 AAV type of deal. And man, I just don't know if I would give it to him. Because he was not shut down dominant in the playoffs. That's not why the Astros won the World Series.
No.
He was very good in the regular season, but he's never been a huge postseason guy. So I don't know if I want to give a 40-year-old guy who's going to be 43, 44 at the end of a deal an AAV of that big a chunk of money. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice with Jacob deGrom. I'm going to go, screw it, deGrom. I'll give you 5 years at $50 million before I'm going to give Verlander 3 years at $45 million, which I guarantee is what he's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the lower tier guys that I'd like to see, and then we'll move on. Martin Perez, I like him a lot. He's a left-hander.
Yeah.
I'm steering clear of Kyle Gibson and Corey Kluber, by the way. I know he's rankings, they're up there, but no way. I'm steering clear of Jose Quintana. I think he's going to get more than money than what he's worth. I think he's okay, but I think that's about it. I wouldn't mind seeing what the Braves could do with Taijuan Walker. He always seems to fade down the stretch, but I think the Braves could fix that. And then a couple other guys that are out there to me that are interesting that could be, these are bargain bin guys. These aren't guys it's going to move the needle, but they can go out there and eat some innings for you. 30-year-old Michael Wacha seems to turn things around. If you can get him on a cheap deal, I like Zach Greinke because he's older, but I don't think he's going to be asking for much money. I think he wants to play for a winner. And you can put him in and out of the bullpen come postseason. He can be what you thought you were getting in Odorizzi.
Yes.
Matthew Boyd is an interesting one to me.
We'll have to see how he comes off that injury, though.
Yeah. And looking at the other, that's about it. I mean, there's other guys out there, but I'm not going to go crazy. I think a guy like Carlos Martinez could have some tremendous upside, but you're taking a huge risk. I'll tell you who I'm not putting a lot of money on is Tyler Anderson. I know he had a good year with the Dodgers last year, but I think he had a good year because he was a Dodger.
Yes.
I think you put Tyler Anderson in almost any other jersey, he's going to be very run-of-the-mill.
I was just looking, and anyway, I was looking for Tyler Anderson to be re-signed by the Dodgers anyway.
Probably because he's probably going to give them a hometown discount, I would think.
I would think so too.
Dodgers,
I figure that's pretty easy signing.
I mean, man, the Dodgers really need to be the ones that are going after a Jacob deGrom. They don't have that starting pitching that everyone thinks they have. Walker Buehler shut down for the season. Haven't seen the update on when they think he's going to be back, but you got to figure they're going to treat him with baby gloves.
Mm-hmm.
I said it all last year, and I said it the year before, and almost every year, the Dodgers' biggest Achilles heel is they don't value starting pitching like they should. They go out and get all these boppers. They usually have a solid bullpen. It's not always like the best, but it's usually very good, which was the case this year. And they figured that they can piece it together come playoff time, and that has not been the case. Julio Urias is by far and beyond their best pitcher, and they wore his ass out in the 2021 playoffs. they never got to that point in 2022 because they got bounced so early. But I think the Dodgers really, the Dodgers seem like a perfect place for Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
Right? Justin Verlander go out there, end his career in Los Angeles, Tinseltown. His wife's a big time actress. Why not? Right? That's going to be
the same consideration. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying with the Dodgers, though. I mean, you got to put the same consideration with any team with Verlander right now. Are they going to trust a 41-year-old? With that rationale too, I could easily see him signing with the Mets. Now that goes if DeGrom leaves. That's all dependent on that idea.
That would really be putting a lot of eggs in a basket if you had two starters at the age of 40. And those are your top two starters. They brought back Cookie Carrasco on the $14 million deal. I guess I look at that as good value. I think he's a washout, man. I think he's done. I think he's at best a guy who's the number 5 starter on your team. But with all that being said, you can't go into the season next year with Jacob DeGrom. I'm sorry, Max Scherzer, and then the next guy on your rotation is realistically Cookie Carrasco. So they've got a lot of signings they've got to do. Whether they bring back Bassett is a big question. Taijuan Walker, that's a big question. But I think the Mets are going to go out and I think they're going to sign at least 3 pitchers because they have all these guys coming off the books. One of them is going to be a big name. If they don't get DeGrom, I do think they're going to get. I mean, honestly, if I'm a Mets fan sitting out there, I would want Carlos Rodon. Give me righty lefty back, back to back, a guy who's 30 and not 35 and always on the IL. Nathan Eovaldi is really interesting to me because he is a big time pitcher in the playoffs. He may not hit the, he may not get you on fire for the regular season and get you all kind of excited, right? But man, you come postseason, Nathan Eovaldi's the man. And I know he's getting up there in age. What is he, 33? So I wouldn't go crazy, but I would sign Nathan Eovaldi to a 3-year deal. I wouldn't go much past that. I have to figure out that if Nathan Eovaldi does go down by the wayside towards the end of his career, I can always put him in the back of my bullpen. So if I get a decent, and I mean a decent return, I'm absolutely going to go with a guy like Eovaldi. Eovaldi to me makes a lot of sense for the Atlanta Braves.
Yes, I was going to chime in with that too. He makes excellent sense.
Guys that I'm not excited about, if I find out my team signed that are marquee names, but I would not be excited. First of all, what the hell's Rich Hill doing on this list? He's 42 years old. Get the hell out of here. But Noah Syndergaard, I think Noah Syndergaard is going to expect more money than he's worth. So that would concern me. Kyle Gibson has not shown, I'm looking at a ranking system the last 2 years, the combined WAR, and he's got 4.8, which puts him about 6th on the list. But most of that came from early last year. He didn't do anything this year. He faded down the stretch after the trading deadline.
Yep.
Wade Miley, 36 years old, coming off injuries. I'm scared of it. Zach Eflin opted out, and he's going to try to cash in. I still don't think Zach Eflin's an elite pitcher. I still think Zach Eflin is a guy that if you go out there and you sign him, you better realize there's a very good chance he ends up in the back of your bullpen. As far as the shortstops go, Trey Turner, I've got a really bad feeling he's going to end up in Philadelphia.
I have a bad feeling he is too. He said he wants to be on the East Coast. He swears it up and down. that's why I was throwing out a little fire there with the Cardinals. But yeah,
Well,
his connection with Bryce Harper and
his wife.
Yeah.
And this always plays into it. His wife is from New Jersey. So that's a stone's throw from Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah,
he could end up with the Mets, but I don't think the Mets are going to put that kind of money into a guy that, I mean, they've already realistically got that position sewn up. Right? They've got Lindor. Now, yeah, in theory, you could put Trey Turner over at second base, and he's played it before. He's played it well, and away you go. But, man, I don't know. The other shortstops out there, Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson. I got a bad feeling that Dansby's going to be a Dodger. I really do. It just feels like this is where it's going. I don't feel like the Atlanta Braves are going to pony up. I feel like if they were going to go out there and knock his socks off with an offer, they would have already done it.
Yep.
And this is same day, and he's represented by the same damn agency that represented Freddie Freeman last year. So there you go. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Some football. We've talked about baseball long enough. Real quick on the AFC West as we welcome the other guys in. Doug, you got the Raiders. I was kind of holding off on this because I wanted to see. Well, we'll wait till Joey jumps on here. Raiders and Colts are playing this week, and we'll get into that in a second. Let me take the picture off here because this is just it's too many boxes at one time. All right, welcoming on the show is Joey and Tones. How are you guys?
We're good. It's been a while, but we're glad to be back here, and it's a tremendous weekend of football. We're nearing the cold weather all around the U.S., so that means one thing. That means important football is on our hands coming up. Only a handful of games left in the college football season, less than half in the NFL, and MLB hot stove is heating up as well. So tremendous time in sports, and we're going to dissect all of it here. It's awesome to be back.
Yeah, I was well, the short of it, we weren't here last week because about a week ago at this moment, I was collapsed on the ER floor. So would have been really difficult to pull off a show at that point.
Not even the armchair quarterback could pull some off. We're glad to have you back though, brother. It's, just was praying and glad to have you here.
Thank you. I can only tell you the look on my wife's face when they brought her into the back of the doctor's office. I had collapsed on the floor and they had to run me over to the ER. It was it was a whole scene, man. Joey, how are you?
Well, I almost nearly collapsed this week with all the Colts news going on, but not much happening there in Indianapolis. But no, I'm glad you're doing well, man. It's that's never the scary thing. We always important thing first. Everyone stays healthy. That's why we get to have this fun show. But like I said, a lot to talk about. Not much to talk about in Indianapolis usually, but today and this week there has been. It's been a wild 5 days. But hey, we play the Raiders, as Mr. Doug knows, and I think whoever loses this game should be shipped off to another country and just restart in general. Because Josh McDaniels, how funny would this be if it came full circle? How he had the job in Indy for about 10 minutes and then all that crap. But we'll get into it. But it's going to be an interesting game for two dog poo teams.
One thing I would like to bring up, because we didn't get a chance to do the show last week. Steven wasn't going to be on the show anyways. He was out of town. He was also running scared. 45-3, my guy. 45-3. I see Brian's watching. And how about them Seminoles putting a butt kicking? And once again, can I hear once again about how Mario Cristobal is going to turn around the program and how this is it and Miami's back and you and all this and all that. And
he says never happened.
I thought it was pretty funny when they went up. I think it was the touchdown that put them up 38-3. One of the FSU players took the U and broke it on his knee at midfield. They gave him a flag, and he's like, I don't care.
Where's the chain game?
Yeah, exactly. About time to pull out that corny ass turnover chain. Although I think you're going to have to let the opposing sideline borrow it the entire game.
They have the runner who runs it back and forth to the sideline.
And what a disaster the Hurricanes are. I'm telling you right now, they're done. And I knew they were done before Chris Ball ever got there, but they're done.
Yeah, how the heck did people have him ranked as a top 5 or 6 team heading into this season, dude?
Because he's been known as this great recruiter. He's having a decent recruiting class now. I don't think it's going to hold.
No.
What just happened? Supposedly they had a lot of Miami recruits at the game on last Saturday. They finally sold out the damn stadium. First time in 2 years. Last time Florida State went there. So what are you selling to the kids other than, man, it'd be pretty cool to play at Florida State?
And I think they're at this point the 4th team in college football in the state of Florida. I'd put UCF over them at this point in time as well.
Man, I don't even know if they're in the top 10.
Hey,
well, you got a damn an argument.
You said it, not me. The only one they're better than
Willie Taggart's coaching nowadays. He'll probably kick their ass.
The only one that they're better than is USF, and that ain't saying much.
I don't even know if they're better than USF.
They
are an underdog to Georgia Tech this weekend.
Yeah. Hey,
I know it's in Atlanta, but Georgia Tech is terrible.
True.
Georgia Tech will tell you they're terrible. Miami will still try to tell you, oh, we're getting there. Oh, you're getting there. You're getting somewhere. All right, Colts, Raiders. We'll flip the script. Done. We're done needling Brian. Colts, Raiders. I think this is a huge game, not for the Colts because their season's done. When you hired Saturday to be your head coach, you've waved the white flag and you've given up. But Doug, if your boy don't get a W at home against a Colts team, then not only is it a disaster, but they don't even have a coach. There is so much pressure on the Raiders and none on the Colts this weekend.
No. That's why I think the Colts are going to win this game. I'm just waiting for McDaniels. I'm waiting for McDaniels at some point in this game. The Raiders will be up 20-0, maybe 20-10, and I'm waiting for about the third quarter, and McDaniels will write this script where the Colts come roaring back and win 34-27. That's what I'm waiting for, because at some certain point, McDaniels is going to decide, I don't want to win this game. I'm going to rewrite the script, and just like we've done 3 out of the last 6 times, we have blown leads against the Cardinals, the Chiefs, and I believe the Jaguars too, of 17 points or more. Might as well go for some record and go for our 4th blown lead.
What's fascinating to me is that the Colts were a 6-point underdog towards the beginning of the week. It's down to 4.5. Now, what the hell happened that the Colts are looked upon? That means some money came in on the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Hunter Renfrow went to the IR, but my God, that's not the end all, the beat all.
Oh, Darren Waller did too. So,
well,
they're both gone for the season.
He's been on the IR all year, though, realistically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and
Plus,
then
he doesn't want to be a Raider.
Blake Martinez had the most tackles last week, and then he retires out of nowhere.
Yeah, what the hell was that about?
Yeah, he's rather retired than be a Raider. Yeah.
I think they said. I think the Raiders said they cut. What is it, Doug? Like 3 or 4 first-round picks over the past few years from John Gruden and Mike Mayock too. I mean, both teams are in just disarray. I mean, the Raiders, like you said, Mac, the pressure is on in Vegas. I was listening to some Raiders guys over the week, and man, the fans are not happy with McDaniels. He's already had a couple closed-door meetings with the owner, Mr. Davis. This is one of those losses where if you lose, maybe you do get what you want and it's a one and done, but it's hard to believe you get a one and done getting all that money, but I guess it's possible, right?
I don't even want to think about it, to be honest with you. I had said, Dave and I talked about when the Raiders, when Gruden left, I said, if there's one head coach that they cannot hire, I said, Lord, please don't let it be Josh McDaniels. Look what he did to your Colts for 10 minutes. Look what, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the frustration I had. The minute I saw that man with a Raiders shirt on, I was like, we're dead. It was finished. I don't care who you sign. Josh McDaniels does not belong as a head coach. He's what, 13-24 as a head coach. He destroyed the Broncos. He destroyed the Colts. I'm watching my franchise become the joke of the league with all these people that we have signed, all these people that we signed in the offseason, bringing in Devontae Adams. If I didn't know better, I swear this man is purposely trying to lose games. He's doing this on purpose because he wants the Raiders. He wants the Raiders his way. That goes to all the people, and that also goes to all the people that he's dropped off, from Abrams and the rest of them as well. This guy, and I think that Mark Davis was sold the bill of goods with this guy. And the only way that if they lose this week and Mark Davis doesn't fire him, I'm telling people out in Vegas, don't go to the games. The only way you're going to show how bad McDaniels is if you don't show up. Make Mark Davis understand that this guy is destroying your franchise, and it's the only way he'll listen. I mean, he goes into their GM goes into a public meeting and talks about, oh, well, McDaniels will be a coach for a long, long time. Are you kidding me? The last two coaches that did what he's done by blowing 3 games of 17 points or more, both were fired the next day. Dan Reeves back in the 90s, excuse my voice, and Newberry up in New England back in the late 80s.
Well, he might be a coach, but no one says he's going to be a head coach in the NFL. Then again, if Jeff Saturday can be a head coach in the NFL, I think any of us can do it. I'm putting my name up there. I can coach the Colts. Come on now. The 4 of us together, we'll split his salary, whatever the hell he's making. The 4 of us can make as many good decisions as Jeff Saturday can. One thing I do know, I can make a better decision than Jeff Saturday does about his damn hairdo, or his hair don't. So come on, let's go. We can coach the Colts.
The one thing that does interest me about this, I mean, we did see this in the NHL last year, and it worked out well with Martin St. Louis going to coach the Montreal Canadiens, and he ended up getting a 3-year extension, had no head coaching experience prior to this move, and no assistant coaching experience prior to this move. Yes, hockey.
No, first of all, nobody cares about hockey.
Yeah, but it's a professional sport. It's a professional sport. It's a good comp.
You need a coach. You're going so damn fast.
That's false.
NBA doesn't need
that's false. You need a head coach in hockey is just as important as a head coach in the NFL. It's just facts. They make line changes. They make substitution
I could be an elite
changes.
coach in the National Hockey League as long as you give me the best goalie, right? You can be an elite coach in the NBA as long as you give me 2 or 3 of the best players.
It's different in hockey with the line changes, the taxi squad, the shift changes.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, all I'm saying is it's not like we haven't seen this in sports before, so I think we have to stop. We have to stop acting like it's brand new. We have to stop.
We have not seen it in the National Football League.
We've seen it in NBA, we've seen it in NHL, we've seen it in MLB, we've seen it in every sport.
But this is the NFL. This is totally different.
And there's a first for everything.
There's a reason why it's not done, and it's a slap in the face to all the current head coaches in the NFL.
It wasn't done in the NHL till last season, and he got a 3-year contract extension out of it, and the fan base loves him.
Hockey is different. I'm telling you, you're talking about the National Football League.
It's been done in professional sports before.
It could be done in baseball because guys in years past have come off the baseball field to coach. Coaching in the NFL is a whole different ball of wax.
I'm not saying it's
one thing I will say, is obviously the interesting Colts fan here out of all of this is it is out of left field. It might not work, but here's the thing. Nobody thinks it will work. So at least the opportunity, if he does succeed, hey, good for Jeff Saturday. As we alluded to,
can age well.
The Colts are falling. The Colts are falling. So we'll see what happens.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left on their schedule, right? No, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're 3, 5, and 1. So we got 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I'm sorry, 8.
Joe Thomas's comments, though, those were the only blasphemy ones. It's not that guy's been on so many losing teams. He goes, that was the most craziest, I forget the exact word he used. But
how many wins does Jeff Saturday get?
2 or 3.
Yeah, I figure 2. I figure 2 if they're lucky.
Yeah, probably
if
2.
They're lucky. They could do it off emotions this week, but then they're going to pit her out. They do end the season with the Texans.
My thing is why would you? The only thing I don't hate about Saturday is we had John Fox.
Not like you didn't have anyone else in that damn locker room that you couldn't have made a head coach. That's my point. He has turned this into a clown show.
Yeah, but one thing I would
what be a head coach of the NFL. He is on the staff. Why don't you just go, dude? Just ride the reins out. If you want to hire Jeff Saturday at the end of the season, you give him a whole off season to get ready, not 5 days.
Oh, hey, but here's the thing. It gets you to a top 5 pick probably when you do the.
That's what I'm saying. The whole thing's a clown show. He is tanking. This is why it's going on. And Jeff Saturday goes, screw it, man. What are you going to pay me? I'll do it.
Jim Irsay sitting up there somewhere having the real good stuff. He's sipping that bottle. Give it to your daughters, my brother.
Yeah,
I will say that guy is out there.
Yeah, he is a drunken jackass. I mean, there's just everyone keeps worrying about getting the team away from Daniel Snyder. Can we get the NFL team away from Jim Irsay? Can we get a real owner in Indianapolis? I feel like the fans deserve it. But because Snyder's such a crap show, no one pays attention to Irsay. But that doesn't mean Irsay's right.
And isn't it funny that Irsay said the comments on Dan Snyder too that helped get him out, and now everyone's looking at Irsay like, what the heck?
Besides Kraft and Jerry Jones and Dan Snyder, Irsay is probably the 4th most talked about, I'd say, up there in the league, and more for the interesting moments than the good ones, to say the least. But never a dull moment with that guy. Never a dull moment.
All right, let's go ahead and hit the stupid underdog picks. I'll have to get the totals up here in a minute. Give me 1 second. By the way, any lines that y'all are really liking today as far as the favorites?
In the world of college football.
Yeah. College football.
I do. It sounds a little homerish, but I do like Penn State today, dropping the points. They're at home in a Big Ten battle here. Let me pull up the exact point. I think it was 10.5 last time I checked. Yep, it's still 10.5. I like Penn State given that 10.5 at home against Maryland today. I think Penn State, last time we talked, played pretty well, and they've played decent of late outside their game against Michigan. They even put up a decent fight against Ohio State besides a few Clifford bad plays. Penn State's running game keeps getting better and better. I don't see Maryland stopping that today. I would take Penn State given the 10.5 at home. That one is 4:30 Eastern time, I believe.
And I also like Clemson at home. I know they just came off a rough loss, but to me, that will shake the cage a little bit. They still only have 1 loss. They're at home, giving up 7 points to Louisville. I feel like today people are just obviously going to be so down on Clemson, but I think they come out strong and wipe the floor with Louisville. So that's one of the favorites I like is Clemson -7 at home against Louisville.
I'll tell you what has surprised me is Louisville being 6-3.
Right.
That's kind of an impressive. Man, I was hoping Nebraska. I see Mike's watching. I was hoping that Nebraska would give us a puncher's chance against Michigan, but they're going to be without their head coach again. I mean, their quarterback. Sorry.
Well, they're pretty much without a head coach every week at this point anyways, but they were fighting there for a little bit.
As are the Colts going forward, but yeah.
Oh boy, here we go. But they will be for a good amount, and I'm interested to see who ends up in Nebraska at this point in time, because week by week now we keep seeing more and more head coach vacancies opening in the world of college football. So Nebraska joins a long list of teams that need one. Cadillac Williams at Auburn, that interests me a lot, and I do like Auburn today, given 1.5 points at home today against another struggling foe. I forget who they have exactly. I'll crack into that. And I'm sorry, that Penn State game's at 3:30 Eastern. I said 4:30 Eastern. That puppy's at 3:30.
Auburn's
Eastern.
playing A&M.
Yep, I like Auburn at home today with Cadillac Williams minus the 1.5.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the stupid underdog picks. And looking at this as I finish up the tally, who is the lowest score?
Probably me.
Joey.
Yep. Just like my Colts.
Going for your stupid underdog pick this week.
Oh boy. So much stupidity going on in my life this past week. Let me see. No, let's go with Mississippi State home against the Georgia Bulldogs. Why not? Mississippi State's getting 16.5 points. Most people probably, in which they probably will, expect Georgia to go in there and just whomp them. I want to see complete chaos in this 14 playoff that we still have to deal with. So I'm going to take Mississippi State getting 16.5 on their home turf as my super underdog pick.
Okay. Going on from that, next man up would be Tones Areola.
And who would have thought we'd get 2 Willie Taggart mentions in one show? That's probably not the best thing for the big guy, but I'm going with
yes, man. Take the Colts. Take Jeff Saturday and the Colts.
Let's go.
That ain't big enough, man. That spread. I'm chasing a wide margin here. That spread is a lot lower than it should be for Doug's Raiders. So we won't mention why it's so low. But yeah, their coach may be the only head coach more undeserving of a position than Jeff Saturday at this point. But I'm sticking in the world of college football. I don't need to put my man Doug on down and out anymore. I'm going in the world of Conference USA. The Fighting Willie Taggarts are heading into Florida International. Florida International's 15.5 point underdogs. This one's at 7:30 Eastern. They're both 4-5, and my buddy Anthony Gator is a quality assistant on Florida International. He used to play for the Buccaneers. So give me them. I'm 3-0 betting them this year. I'm taking them with the 15.5. And I think they have a chance to win outright because Willie Taggart always seems to crap his pants in a tough battle. And this one's a tough battle of Florida in FIU and a battle of Conference USA.
Okay, so then that brings me up, and let me see where we're going to go here. Right now, the standings, by the way, it's Bobby in first, Doug in second. And then there's a huge drop off. I'm in third, Tones in fourth, Joey in fifth, Trosh in sixth, and Sean pulling up the rear. I don't know if Sean's even hit one yet this year. I'm not even sure if he's covered the spread in one.
Tony Angelini's joining in. What
Sounds
up,
like
Tony?
a Lions fan.
Dude.
I'm tempted to take Alabama, Ole Miss at home against Alabama. Just such a big margin. I feel like I need to make up more ground. The other one, and do I dare? 47 degrees. Give me the Nebraska Cornhuskers, 30.5 point underdogs.
Woo-hoo, for Big Mike. You hear that, Mike?
Nebraska, the Cornhuskers.
I know there's not much of a chance, but I got to start swinging for the fence now. I can't keep trying to piddle my way through. So I'm hoping, if nothing else, they're going to cover the spread, but kind of need a lot more than that at this point. And we haven't had that shocker of a W yet, right?
No.
We haven't had that team way up at the top get knocked off. So I'm going to go with that. I was tempted Indiana, Ohio State, but man, Ohio State just looks like a machine. So yeah, I'll go Cornhuskers with the upset win. Doug, where are you going?
I was going to go what you mentioned first. I take Oh, take Ole Miss. Ole Miss the points and the win against Alabama. Forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a smart play. Just it's going to come a point, especially when the college games go away, where it's going to be really hard to catch each other. There we go with that. Doug, what is your walk-off for the day, sir?
We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, and I guess that's one reason I was fired up about the Raiders. But in case anybody doesn't know, Ray Guy passed away last Thursday. And I just was going to talk about him. I mean, he at his position, we talked about a few weeks ago, talking about Bruce Sutter passing away. Ray Guy was just the greatest punter that ever played the game, and he was just such a fixture. The reason that special team stats were included with the NFL was because he changed the way the game was played. That position was played. People don't realize, we talk about punter this, punter, but when he was punting, he could change the difference in the game. In his career as a punter, he did not kick that ball any less. His average distance was between 62 to 77 yards a punt, with a hang time that it could take an hour for the ball to fall back down. And his accuracy at that position changed. They didn't do punter stats when he first started playing for the Raiders. It wasn't until his fourth year that they started doing it, and they did that because of Ray Guy. And people don't also understand that he was drafted 23rd overall in the 1972 draft. But he was not only drafted as a punter, he was also drafted because he was thought to be at least a second string, or part of, at that time, would have been part of a nickel or dime package as a defensive back, because he played for Southern Mississippi. And he was actually a very good safety as well. And he's one of the last few college players you would ever see playing both positions. So I just felt like I had to mention that, because
back in that time period, there were two punters, in my opinion. It was Ron Stark of the Colts, and it was Ray Guy. And I've got Ron Stark a little higher than Ray Guy, but mainly that's because he's a Florida State guy. But Ron Stark and Ray Guy, and if I had a third, I'd say Reggie Roby was right there, but he didn't do it nearly as long. But back then, they were important. They're not important anymore. Everyone goes for it on fourth down. Flipping the field is no longer just monumental in a football game like it used to be. Used to, if you pinned someone down inside their 5-yard line, there wasn't much of a chance that they were going to get out of the shadow of their own goal line before they had to punt again. Now today, when you punt it someone down in the 5-yard line, that just means that there's a good chance that it's going to be a 95-yard touchdown drive instead of a 85-yard touchdown drive. So, but yeah. All right, brother. Well, we will see you next week. We got to run to break. We're a little behind. When we come back, we're going to talk some more football here with the Areolas. We'll be back in a flash.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. College football week 11 begins at noon Eastern. Let's take a look at the SEC slate. On CBS, the Tennessee Volunteers, number 5 in the land, they host the Missouri Tigers. Vols are 19.5-point favorites. The over-under, 57. On the SEC network, it's number 24 Kentucky hosting Vanderbilt. Wildcats, minus 17.5. Over-under sits at 47. LSU, number 7 in the country, coming off the win against Alabama. They're a 4-point favorite at Arkansas. That kickoff is noon Eastern on ESPN. At 3:30 Eastern, the SEC game of the week on CBS. Number 9, Alabama, trying to rebound off of 2 recent losses. They travel to the Grove at Ole Miss, who's number 11 and 8-1. The Tide are 12-point favorites. Over under is 65. 6-3 South Carolina. They go to the Swamp, 4:00 Eastern on the SEC network. Gamecocks are an 8-point underdog at the Gators. Over under is 59. At 7:00 Eastern on ESPN. The number 1 Georgia Bulldogs are at Mississippi State. Cowbells, 16.5-point underdogs, over under 52. ACC matchups of interest at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. Louisville, 6-3 on the season. They're at number 10 Clemson, who's 8-1, 6-0 in the conference, coming off that loss to Notre Dame. At 7:30 Eastern, number 15 North Carolina, who is 8-1 on the year, 5-0 in the conference. They travel to Wake Forest, who's 6-3. The Demon Deacons are a 4-point favorite. Over under is 78. 8 o'clock Eastern on the ACC network. Number 23 Florida State is at 6-3 Syracuse. The Seminoles are an 8-point favorite. The over under is 51. Big Ten action begins on Fox at noon Eastern. Number 2 Ohio State is set to crush Indiana in the Horseshoe. 40-point favorite. Over under is 61. The number 3 Michigan Wolverines host Nebraska. 30.5-point favorite. Nebraska's quarterback out again. The over-under is 49. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Please like and subscribe today. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterback Show. The Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family, have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
Now me, I was scared, but Lieutenant Dan, he was mad.
You're calling the storm! Oh, you son of a... It's time for a showdown! You and me, I'm right here! You never think that ball!
After that, shrimp is easy.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Welcome back. Your dreams are your ticket out. How the hell are y'all this Saturday morning? We're glad to be back. We were not here last week. That was primarily my doing. Had a little bit of a situation with the ER, and we are good to go. Had got things fixed. I have surgery on Monday or Tuesday, but anyways, everything should be good to go, and we are ready for. So this is the home stretch. College football. You got the college football rankings that are out.
Yep.
What was it? I don't have it in front of me, but it's Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan,
TCU,
which
Tennessee.
They finally belong back. I mean, what the hell are they doing behind Alabama? In Tennessee, that's the top 5.
Yep.
A lot of Tennessee fans are freaking out. They're going, oh, wait, man, if you win out, you're going to be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because now there is an opportunity for the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State game, if it's a close game, for that team to make the playoffs. But I don't think TCU is going to run the table. In fact, they're a touchdown underdog this weekend at Texas. They've got a pretty tough gauntlet to run.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go undefeated, okay, then yes, they belong in there. But I just don't think they're going to go undefeated. I think it's a really tough ask for TCU. And that game is the night game tonight, right? Isn't that the ABC game of the week?
Yep.
Yep, 7:30.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all eyes essentially are going to be on that game. Washington, Oregon, 7:00 on Fox. Those are the two big top 25 games this week.
Yeah, and as far as I see it right now, obviously a lot could change in the coming weeks. I kind of see it down to a narrow 7 or 8-ish team race right now for the playoffs. I mean, it's, it's if that. Yeah, exactly. If that. I don't really see LSU with 2 losses as a contender right now, and they're ranked 7th.
LSU does not belong up there. That is total horse crap. That is
terrible.
That is ESPN SEC network garbage.
Correct.
What that is.
Correct.
Florida State beat them, and FSU's played a lot better this year than years past, but they're not an elite team. LSU does not belong. That is a joke, because I heard someone yesterday, they were going, there's a path for them to get to. They got beat 40-13 by Tennessee.
Yeah. Wouldn't you put teams like USC, UCLA, even Clemson? I would put all these type of teams ahead of
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss? Yeah.
You have 2 losses, and I don't want to hear the argument, well, if they win the SEC, I don't give a damn.
You have 2 losses?
Hell, I'd put North Carolina with Drake May at quarterback ahead of them.
That's 1 game. What, because they've gotten on a hot streak and beaten Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama? Oh, we're supposed to forget about the fact that they lost to Florida State at the end of the year. They got crushed, and I mean crushed at home. Wasn't in Knoxville. It was in Louisiana by Tennessee.
And they should have lost to Florida.
That's an insult to the Tennessee Volunteers to say, oh. No. Now, granted, if Tennessee were to lose one of their next 3 games, and they're bad teams, it's Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. South Carolina is actually pretty decent, but all in the big scope, those aren't great teams, right?
Right. Cheers to our 3 teams quick for all being in the top 23 of the college football rankings. Florida State, Notre Dame, Penn State, all within the top 23 of the playoff rankings. Pretty cool.
Hey.
Florida State's 23rd, Notre Dame is 20th, and Penn State is 14th.
Notre Dame's such a weird team. We beat the good teams and lose to the bad. I don't quite figure it out.
I'm messing with Brian on the YouTube chat. If you see the comment,
I did.
I won't repeat that since we're on radio, but
could go for one of those right now.
I'll go for a Miami Hurricane right about now.
It's the only time I want to be there.
Yeah, man. When they're sitting there talking about the rank, I mean, come on. If Oregon were to run the table and win the Pac-12, I would rather see them get a chance. Granted, they did get their ass kicked by Georgia. I don't really want to see them in the playoffs, but more so if Southern Cal were to run the table.
Yep.
Yeah, they look good with new coach, new quarterback. They look good.
If Southern Cal were to run the table, it's not a matchup we've seen yet. Their 1 loss was at Utah. We know Utah can be feisty. It was a 1-point loss to Utah. If they were to run the table, which they crushed a terrible Colorado team last night, 55-17.
UCLA's only.
They're at UCLA next week, right?
Yeah, that's the big one. And
then they're home against Notre Dame. If they were to win those 2 games, that's an impressive way to end your season, plus the Pac-12 title game, which I would assume would be against Oregon.
Agreed.
I mean, UCLA, if UCLA were to run the table.
Yep.
They've got Arizona today. They should take care of that. Then they got USC, and then California's terrible. And then the winner next, is that next? Oh, that's next week. That's awesome. So it doesn't get buried in the whole, Iron Bowl bull crap.
It could be the game of the week too, because time to be announced.
Yeah, man. USC, UCLA. Assuming UCLA wins today, and I hope they do, because that should be the night game for whoever, whether it's Fox or ABC. I don't know who gets first dibs on that. I would think it's Fox, but regardless. And the one thing we know about it being out in California, they can't throw it at the damn noon kickoff bull crap.
Mm-hmm.
So it won't get lost there. So hopefully that'll be a night game.
You know what game is underrated today? These two programs have played pretty good this year so far to me. 22 ranked UCF at 16 ranked Tulane. I think that one's under the radar at 3:30 Eastern time a little bit there.
That's going to be way under my radar. I'm not watching that.
Tulane beat Kansas State this year. They did.
I'm not even saying that these aren't good football teams. I'm just saying I don't care who wins between Central Florida and Tulane.
Fair.
Well, Meg, you brought up an interesting point. So you think maybe even though Ohio State, Michigan, whoever loses that, you could see a chance where both of those teams still make the playoff?
Yeah, if the team that loses it close.
It'd have to be, yeah.
I could. So let's say TCU does run the table somehow.
Mm-hmm.
TCU is going to have to win the Big 12 championship game. They're also going to have to win at Baylor after beating at Texas this week, home against Iowa State, and then they'll have to play whoever is in the other side of the Big 12 championship game, probably Oklahoma State. But anyways, let's say TCU runs the table. Let's say Georgia runs the table. Let's say, I think the better option would be is if Michigan ran the table and Ohio State lost a close game on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
If Michigan lost the game close, it would be at the horseshoe. So would people give them the nod? That's the only way Tennessee gets screwed out of this.
Yeah, and I mean, the winner of the pack eventually will only have one loss as well. So if a couple other teams get muddied in with one or two losses, I think the winner of the pack eventually, if they only have one loss at that time, will emerge as a fourth team if it trickles down as such.
But if it comes down to, do you put Tennessee in with one loss, or do you put a Pac-12 champion of Oregon? Give me the Volunteers.
Yeah, because that means Tennessee would win the SEC championship.
I'm saying in order for the pack to get in, there has to be muddied waters, a couple more losses here and there, but probably a Tennessee loss and a TCU loss almost guarantees a pack championship.
Well, the reason why I'm saying is because we've already seen Oregon get throttled by Georgia.
Right, yeah. Week 1.
49-3, and it wasn't that close.
No.
But Tennessee, I think, missed some opportunities early. I don't know if they could beat Georgia, but I think they could give them a much better fight, and I'd rather see that as a rematch than Georgia-Oregon as a rematch.
I think USC, though, would be I like their chances.
If TCU's undefeated, Ohio State's undefeated, that's who will play each other in the first round. So Georgia would play either Tennessee or they'd play a team like Oregon, right? Yeah. I would much rather see. Now, if Southern Cal runs the table, I could go with the argument of give me a conference champion who has not played Georgia yet.
Southern Cal's last two games are at UCLA and home against Notre Dame. If they run the table and then they win the conference
championship,
correct.
Yeah.
If they run that,
probably Oregon. Those are three really impressive wins. They would probably get the nod over Tennessee.
You would have, yeah, because TCU. Let's be honest, they're probably going to fall out of it, right? So it probably.
And USC's only loss this year was a 1-pointer to Utah, so it's not like it was a bad loss.
And see, here's the thing. I couldn't argue that one. The one that I would argue against is putting Oregon in over Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. To me, USC or UCLA, whatever one of those two teams run the table, has a better, more compelling argument than Oregon, in my opinion, even though UCLA did lose to Oregon.
You know what the one common denominator is in this entire conversation we've had the last 3 minutes? Ain't no one talking about LSU. So stop it with the LSU crap.
Except
we are better than you, ESPN. We are better than you.
State eliminated their ass in week 1.
Oh, is he still talking with that Southern twang?
They put out there, was it yesterday, the day before, where they said 17% chance of Alabama making the playoffs? Stop it. Just stop it.
If they
end up somehow in it, this 14 playoff is a failure.
No, I don't want to see Alabama in the damn playoffs. They lost to LSU, who was a very average football team, and they spit the bed in Knoxville and lost to. You can't lose 2 games and be in a 14 playoff in college football.
They don't deserve it.
It's as simple as that. You're correct. You cannot have 2 losses and make it with 4. That is 100% spot on. That is correct.
That was total horse crap when they put LSU in the national title game years ago with 2 losses. And the only reason why they did that is because ESPN had just started to make the turn towards the SEC and they were starting to promote them. That was the only reason why that happened.
And that's where college football, I mean, they're expanding here soon, but that's where they shoot themselves in the foot by a 4-team playoff because, you know, they want to put the big money names in there. That's fine. But when you're not deserving, it's not fine because only 4 spots. You cannot have a team like Alabama or LSU, in my opinion, even squeak in there at this point in time. They're not more deserving. Hell, I'm not saying they are deserving for the playoffs by any means, but you can make a case Penn State, LSU, bananas this year, which one of those deserves to get in more. So I just don't see how LSU is even a consideration at this point in time.
Too many options with a 1-loss or undefeated team to let me hear anyone's argument about a 2-loss team.
Agreed.
Tennessee's going to have 1 loss at the end. Michigan or Ohio State is going to have 1 loss at the end.
Probably North Carolina, maybe Clemson, one of those 2.
Georgia's going to have 0 or 1 loss at the end. Stop it with I don't care if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC title game. I don't give a damn. It's about the entire season.
Give me Liberty over them.
The only team that's on the outside looking in that could change their trajectory is if Ole Miss were to run the table and find a way into the SEC title game. They've got to get in the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that.
And then win. But the problem is Ole Miss does not have the tiebreaker on LSU because they lost in a landslide. But if Ole Miss ran the table, Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi State, SEC title game, that's an impressive enough run for me to be okay with the Rebels.
We could still get 3 SEC teams, right? Or can that not happen?
And I don't.
That would be tough.
I think it's more likely when if Tennessee had beaten Georgia,
right?
And if it were a close loss and Georgia ran the table and Tennessee lost to if they were undefeated and lost to Alabama by a few points in the SEC title game, then I could see 3 teams, but I don't see it. And I really don't think you need that.
No, I'm really hoping we get 3.
Only 4 teams in. You don't really need 2 from the same conference, but you damn sure don't need 3.
I'm hoping we get 3 undefeateds. I hope TCU, 1 Big Ten team, and Georgia go undefeated just so we could eliminate all this 2-loss bull crap nonsense right off the bat. Because if you have 3 undefeateds, ain't no way a 2-loss team getting in there.
Sorry, I had to remind Brian one more time of the score.
Down he goes, knockout.
Let's go ahead and jump into other games. We're going to talk Florida, South Carolina in a second when Bobby jumps on. So let's jump over to Maryland, Penn State, a game that's a little bit under the radar, but a pretty good matchup in my opinion. You've got 2 teams who are 6-3 and 7-2 respectively. The Terrapins are getting 10.5 points in Happy Valley, over under 57. Tones, what say you on this Big Ten matchup?
Yeah, I do like Penn State to cover this one. The Terps aren't an easy team by any means, and you can't look them over. Obviously, when you got any Tunga Viola playing quarterback, you're going to be a threat over there. So not an easy game for Penn State. However, outside of their 2 performances against an Ohio State and Michigan, and I did think they played pretty well against Ohio State, they've played really good football. They've blown out Minnesota and Indiana in their past 2 Big Ten victories, and I could see them running past a Maryland team today. Their 2 freshman running backs have been outstanding. Singleton is nearing the 700-yard marker. They're just running the football really well. Parker Washington's been extraordinary this year. And old man Sean Clifford, he's going to want to limp his way into a New Year's Eve type bowl game when he's finally all said and done. It seems like he's been at Penn State for about 20 years now at this point in time. But Penn State's defense is playing phenomenal as well. The big man up the middle, clogging holes out there. Then you got Porter Jr. in the secondary laying the wood. I like Penn State covering this one, and I think they win by 2 touchdowns today. I got Penn State winning this game about 31-17, let's say. And I think they continue their march into a 2-loss season.
Yeah, I'll roll with the Maryland spread on this one. I do think Penn State's going to win in a close game, but Maryland puts up over 30 points a game. Actually, both these teams put up over 30 points per game. That surprised me when looking at it here. But I think Penn State gets the victory, but Maryland keeps it close. I like what Tagovailoa is doing for them over there. He has a pretty good TD-INT ratio. So I say they keep it close and lose by 10, just eking out that 10.5-point spread.
I don't think I would lay the 10.5. I think I would take Maryland plus 10.5, but I do think Penn State's going to win. I honestly see my biggest thing is the hook. If it was 9.5, 8, 9 points, I would probably take Penn State.
Yep.
Man, that extra half point. I know that a lot of folks don't even think about that. They just go, I take them as the better team unless it's an outrageous spread. But 10.5 points is a lot in a game that could be. The biggest thing that it jumps out at me, 57 seems like a high over under.
Mm-hmm.
It's 45 degrees there right now, so you got to figure cool temperatures all throughout the game. I see a much more low scoring game than that. So
that's why I like whatever who you got winning. I like the under as well. I just don't see it getting to 57. This is one of those games where Penn State lays the hammer on D and runs the hell out of the football.
All right, let's move on from that game and let's jump in real quick. First of all, kudos to Notre Dame for getting that W.
Hey,
and knocking out Clemson. Clemson's done. I know a lot of folks try to find a path for them to get back in. Clemson's done, and I couldn't be happier. The shame of it is if they were undefeated and played an undefeated North Carolina or played a 1-loss North Carolina team in the ACC championship game, North Carolina would have a puncher's chance of getting in. But I think now that Clemson has lost, it's going to be really difficult because of North Carolina's out-of-conference schedule. It's going to be really difficult for them to find a way in. But once again, if North Carolina were to run the table in the ACC title with 1 loss, I want them in over LSU with 2 losses.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially with Drake May.
Yeah, that's just one more team that I can tell you is better than LSU.
Yep.
With that being said, Notre Dame plays Navy. They should cruise in that one. There shouldn't be any issues in that game. But TCU Texas tonight, it's strange to say it this way, but are you smelling an upset with TCU being a 7-point dog in Austin, night game? I still don't understand how TCU is such a big underdog.
Yeah, they're riding that Texas train a little bit too much to me. Don't get me wrong, Texas, a little bit up and down this year at 6-3, but TCU getting 7 points as an undefeated team on the road. This is their time to shine. I think Duggan and the boys actually might even get it done. If I'm going to put action on this game, I'll probably even take the money line. It's at plus 215 right now. I like those odds. I'm kind of like you, Mac. I'm kind of confused at how big of the spread is. Now, here we are saying that and watch Texas somehow blow them out. But I'm taking the undefeated TCU Horn Dogs and the points, the money line. And I should have said frogs, not dogs. But sorry about that. I was looking at 2 different things.
Horn dog. What are you looking at there?
No. But give me TCU. Give me the money line. Give me the spread. Give me it all. I'm all over it.
I like.
Go ahead.
I like TCU in the touchdown. I mean, Dugan, he's been counted out over and over and over and over again this year. Half his games, they probably said TCU is going to lose today. 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, closing in on 2,500 passing yards for the season. Running game's incredible. Miller has over 1,000 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. Even if they lose this one, I find it hard to believe it will be by more than a touchdown. And as Joey said, I'm going to correct him here. TCU Horned Frogs win. I think TCU wins outright. I do think they win outright.
I've got
you joining us, Mac? You joining us?
I got a feeling this is where TCU is going to fall.
Yeah,
but I don't think Texas will cover the spread. I'm with Tones on that one. I just feel like I'm not that impressed with Texas, but it is a road game. And TCU has danced through the raindrops a couple of times, and I just kind of feel like TCU is due for a loss. And it may not be fair, but that's going to eliminate them from the college football playoff. I'm also just saying this because I want to see Tennessee in. So, take that for what it's worth.
I like the poll question edition.
And I think we could all agree, even with TCU, if they did lose today, we'd still like him over LSU.
LSU, by the way, they might get eliminated themselves again after they should have already been eliminated because they're on the road to Arkansas, and them laying 3.5 points, I think is a dangerous lay.
Give me the Arkansas money line.
Woo pig suey, baby. Woo pig suey. I've never been so motivated to watch an Arkansas LSU game in my life, but I do not want to hear this talk about how LSU, hell, their entire fan base was ready to run Brian Kelly out of town after week 1. And now they're like, oh, man, we should be in the national title game. Look at us.
Mm-hmm.
We beat what is one of the lesser Alabama teams over the last decade. We beat Alabama.
We got Michael Cool joining us this morning saying LSU and Pac-12 shouldn't be so high in the rankings.
I agree. What the hell is LSU doing? At 7 and number 7 in the country, they're 7-2. They lost to Florida State, who is what, 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
They one of these kids is doing his own thing. Like if you look at the top 10 of college football, like everyone's like, they belong. Wait a minute, what the hell's LSU doing there?
Why is there so much bias? I don't even get it. I just
SEC network by the ESPN.
And then, they really gassed up that ESPN, SEC. They really thought that Brian Kelly signing was like the hiring of a lifetime. It's like, give me a break.
Mr. Joey, give us your lock and your one big thing as you walk it off.
Yeah, no doubt. For my lock, I'm actually going to keep it in my neck of the woods. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. Right now, they're laying 2.5 to the Detroit Lions. It's in Chicago.
You took mine. Thanks.
Sorry. The way I did not know that. But the way Justin Fields has been playing and balling out, even though Detroit had a good win last week against Green Bay, I don't think they're able to slow down the Chicago Bears. This could be a game where Chicago gets into the 40s. Detroit probably won't be able to keep up. It could be interesting conditions here as it's been muggy all weekend in the 30s and the 40s. So I look for the Chicago Bears to have one of those big wins where you're like, okay, you know what? They're not going to make the playoffs this year, but you keep liking the direction they're going, led by Coach Eberflus. So I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears -2.5 home against the Detroit Lions. As my lock. And then my one big thing is this, it's been a terrible, terrible, terrible season for obviously the Indianapolis Colts. But this weekend, this Sunday, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to treat it like the Super Bowl. The Vegas Raiders have Josh McDaniels, as we all know. I would love nothing more for than the no pressure Indianapolis Colts to walk into that building, beat up on that cocky SOB and win the game outright and get Josh McDaniels fired next week. And we have more chaos in the NFL. Maybe the Raiders will have Danny Orlovsky after they fire Josh McDaniels.
Maybe we'll have a clown bidding war between the Raiders and the Colts on who gets to sign Jeff Saturday to a long-term deal.
Hey, on a serious note, had a somber, close, loss in the family and friend side of things this past week. So stay healthy, people. Mac, I was praying for you. I'm glad you're doing good. But everyone, get your doctor's checks up and get things going and make sure you stay safe, because that's the number one important thing as we all battle through the winter here. So everyone go get your checkups, get things done, and enjoy the rest of the football season.
You can only ignore pain for so long, and then you fall out and you go, whoops.
I got to do something. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, glad you're doing good, man. Enjoy the show, boys.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Coming on the show is Mr. Bobby. Bobby, how about them Gators?
How about them? Yeah. Didn't like the game against Georgia. I don't think we got the chance to talk about that last week because didn't have the show, obviously. Yeah, it didn't go as well as I would have liked. We had it close at one point, but as expected, Georgia pulled away. I think Richardson showed some flashes. I like how they came out in the second half, but Georgia's a much better team.
Yeah, the Georgia game went about the way I expected it. The one thing I didn't expect was Florida to make it somewhat competitive there for it was like one possession there in the second half. You're like,
Yeah.
And then
8-point game for like 2 minutes.
Right. And then they got back to normal. A big game, I think, against South Carolina today. I think that's going to be a really interesting game, a fun game. Was it 4 o'clock, I think, Eastern time on SEC Network, I believe, is the kickoff for that? Let me double check that. Yes. 4 o'clock Eastern on SEC Network. The Gators are laying 8 points. I would be taking South Carolina all day long on that because I think it's going to be a close game. I think Florida will find a way to win, but man, I don't think it's going to be easy.
Yeah, I don't like 8 points there. I think that's pretty widespread. I don't think we cover that. I think we win. I think we win by 3 or 4 points. But it won't be an 8-point win. Not confident in that.
It's a really, really strange line to me. I thought Florida would be like about a 5-point favorite somewhere in that neighborhood. Man, 8 points. They just have the disrespect for South Carolina has been real all year long, and it just continues. I actually see them at 8.5 on one site. I mean that's getting into the land of the lost right there. I have a hard time believing that's what the case is, but
I think it's just because Spencer Rattler is so bad, to be honest. And, he's thrown more interceptions and touchdowns this year. Hasn't even amassed 1,900 passing yards on the season. And this was a guy last year talked about as one of the up-and-coming Heisman candidates, a future first-round draft pick. And, he's hindering South Carolina. At this point, they'd probably be a much better team if they had another mid-level college quarterback. He's really the biggest hindrance on their team, and that's why I think Florida does cover the 8 points today. Not overly confident about it, not enough to throw a coin on it, but if I had to, I'd take Florida dropping the 8 just because Rattler is really, really that bad. I've watched him a couple times this season, and it's been a lot of bad football, and you Florida fans are going to see that firsthand today.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised where the line is right now, and then the over under. Looking at that, it's 58, and that seems extremely high because South Carolina kind of plays it close to the vest. I'd be leaning with the under on that game because I see Florida winning this like 28-24, something like that.
Yeah.
Not quite get you to 58. I don't see South Carolina scoring 30, right?
No.
And I think, and I do, and if I think Florida is going to be within 8 points of South Carolina, then I've got to take the under in that.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a 30-17 Florida win. Anthony Richardson has a nice performance, and I think South Carolina is on the verge of covering a few times, and then Rattler just is Spencer Rattler and looks the part that his stats do this year. I've had several people over the last couple Saturdays watching college football, and you kind of just keep watching South Carolina, waiting for Spencer Rattler to turn on the lights, and it just hasn't happened yet. So it's now or never for them. They could still make a big bowl game, but they got to beat Florida on the road today.
Where do you see the score, Bobby?
I'm gonna say a 30-24 win for for Florida. Sorry.
What was the score?
30-24.
30-24. I just looked at the line. Florida's team total 33.5, and South Carolina 23.5. Which doesn't really add up because that's a 10-point spread, but that's where it's at right now. I would tend to take Florida under 33.5. I think they will score on South Carolina, but man, I mean, a lot of things have to go right for a 58-point game with a South Carolina team that likes to run the football.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Anthony Richardson, I love him, but he seems to be on and off quite a bit. He'll either be having a great game of his life, or it'll be just a terrible game. So, if we're not getting a really good game out of him, I don't see it getting over.
All right, moving on from that, Florida State, Syracuse. It's another interesting spread. Syracuse right now is a 7-point underdog at home to Florida State. I would take Syracuse in the points, to be honest with you. Florida State has that ability to explode on a Syracuse team that does not score a lot of points, but I don't think they'll do it in the Carrier Dome. It's a tough environment, always has been. I don't even understand why, because it looks like it's just a lame-ass place to play. But Syracuse tends to play well at home. I think Florida State wins, but in the over-under, by the way, is 51. I see it much lower than that. I think Florida State gets them 24-20.
Yeah, I could see that. Syracuse has peaked a little bit. They started undefeated with an immaculate-looking season, and then they've taken 3 straight losses now to this point. Clemson, Notre Dame, and then at Pitt. So not to fault their own. It's been 3 tough battles for them. But I like Florida State here. I think they've been the better team overall this year, and I would say enough to be confident enough to take Florida State dropping the points. Once a team like Syracuse kind of lets the air out of their tires a little bit, it seems to be gone for them. They'll make their bowl game. They'll be happy down the road that they just got to a bowl game. They could compete in their bowl game. That's fine and cute. But Florida State's been blowing people out the last couple of weeks, and I don't see that changing here today. Give me Florida State dropping the points. I see this as a 10-point road win for them, and I think it's about a 27-17 Florida State victory.
What say you, Bobby?
That's a tough call for me because it's on the road for Florida State. I do see them picking up a win. It's tough, though. It's right at 7 on ESPN. It's going to be tough to give them the points, but I think they might win right on the nose by a touchdown. I don't think it'll be a very high-scoring game. I got the under in this one if I had to bet on it, but I think Florida State wins.
How about South Carolina? I'm sorry, not South Carolina. Syracuse, their over-under team total is 21.5. Florida State's 28.5, and I think both of them will not make it. Like I said, I'm seeing it 24-20. I don't think either one of them gets the team total.
Yeah, I don't think either one makes it either. I got a 27-17, so I'm right there with you.
Because FSU's defense has played much better than I think a lot of people realize. Their losses that they have gotten have really come from the inability of the offense to sustain drives. Now they've played a little better as of late. Of course, got the big blowout win against Miami last week, but that's not really that impressive. I said it several weeks ago. Playing Miami this year, I wasn't going to get excited for a win. I was going to be embarrassed by a loss. Because if you think you turned a corner, you think your program is going somewhere, and you lose to a terrible program like Miami at this point, you'd be really down. You'd be pissed. They did what I expected them to do.
They were ranked at the beginning of the year.
But Miami is not even going to a bowl game. Miami, I don't know if they're going to beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Bobby, they were like top 5 to enter the year.
Ridiculous.
Man,
I don't know who
Miami
the
was
college
so overrated at the beginning of the year. It was like, what the hell? It's because Mario Cristobal, he spent more time making hype videos than he did actually coaching his team.
That's why until about week 3, it's hard to even at week 3, it's hard to buy stock into the top 25, but you really don't know until at least a month, 4 to 6
And
weeks.
Van Dyke was extremely overrated.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
And there's a lot of folks that are out there, asking about whether or not whether Miami can make a good run over the next, few years and whatnot. Man, I'm thinking to myself, who is your next coach? Because Cristobal's not it. It's he's not it.
Good recruiter, terrible coach. That's how I've seen him.
What's that?
I say good recruiter, terrible coach. That's how I've always seen him.
He's always been that way. And I know he's a Miami guy, so they want him to work and work well. Problem is, man, he's in an uphill battle anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have the facilities, and though they always seem to have some big names that say that they will commit early to Miami, very few of them stick with them. Because then the season unfolds, kids go down and they visit and they go to a game at Miami, and then you compare that going to other teams that are on your list, and the kid at the end of the day goes, "Why the hell do I want to go down there? They've got no fan base. The stadium that they play, it's not even near the campus. See, there's no real way to actually build a following organically like they had back in the 80s when the Orange Bowl was right there. It's just, it's an absolute disaster.
Well,
but the good news is it'll help Florida State and Florida fans continue to thrive.
Yeah, well, we already flipped their quarterback, Jalen Rashada, so I'm hoping we can flip McLean too back to Florida.
Yeah, FSU flipped the receiver that originally was had Miami high on his list. I forget his name, but he's a 4-star, and he's one of the top receivers in the country this year. He came out, it was either last week or the week before where he committed to Florida State. He actually started his recruiting trail with the Hurricanes, but it's just, it's just like living in the past, man.
Over.
Living off a clown from the 60s. All right. Other games on the docket real quick. As we're starting to approach kickoff, we'll have the NFL talk here next hour. So I do want to get some college talk in. And we do circle back. We do go back to college football talk right before kickoff, about 15 minutes till. Bama Ole Miss. We've only kind of skated across this. A lot of folks don't believe that Ole Miss is going to be able to handle Alabama's offensive and defensive lines. In years past, I would have bought that, but I have not been that impressed with Alabama. I don't know if they're just kind of having a down year, if they don't have the right leadership in the locker room. You know they're getting their recruits. But Ole Miss always seems to have their number, especially when they play in the Grove. And I like Ole Miss in the points today.
That's a lot of points too. I mean, 11 points at home for Ole Miss when Alabama hasn't looked like the sharpest tool out of the shed this year, especially the past month or so of football. They haven't looked that great, in my opinion. I like Ole Miss a lot today, and I know they laid a clunker a couple weeks back against LSU, but they did a good job at putting that one in the rear view mirror, and they've been battling the whole year, and I don't see that different today. I think Lane Kiffin's extra motivated today. You know, that guy, he's always trying to make a big statement for himself and his team, and I think that they do so today, and I think they're covering the 11 points, and I even got them so much that they're going to win this one by a field goal here at home against Bama.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss covers. 11 points is a lot to give to a team that doesn't give you a lot to be confident in. Bama hasn't looked terribly good as they usually do, and it's in Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss. I don't think they win, but I think they keep it within a possession. I think they cover the spread.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss to. Oh hell, I'll go ahead and call it. Ole Miss is going to get that ass today.
Yeah,
they're going to put 3 losses on them.
They'll still make the playoffs.
And what's ironic is that finally Florida's finally not playing on that final Saturday. they finally smarted up and we're playing Friday before the final Saturday of the college football season. But the irony is we might have actually gotten eyeballs on our game this year, because I don't think the Iron Bowl is going to be nearly as watched as it has been in years past.
Definitely not.
I agree with that.
Georgia, Mississippi State. I do think Mississippi State, who's at home, it's a night game. I do think they have a puncher's chance, only because Georgia is going to be coming off that high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of beating Tennessee, and they're due for a letdown. And some teams are like, well, you know what? They're just a machine. They keep going. But we saw them almost lose in Missouri, very similar circumstances. And Mississippi State's a better team than Missouri. I think they've got a chance. 16.5 points. I understand why they're that big of a favorite, because you couldn't make them a small favorite because everyone would just load money on Georgia. But I could see a scenario where Mississippi State at least covers that spread.
I can see that.
I think so as well.
Yeah, Georgia's a much better team, but like you said, they're coming off a big win last week, and they're playing on the road. I could see it being, a game that they go into, not sleeping, but kind of looking ahead and allow them to get close.
Well, the other thing is if Georgia, from time to time, their offense comes out and just lays clunkers.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think it's just because they're not laser focused that game, right?
Right.
And if you can put enough points on the board to keep it interesting, that ball they play with is not round. It takes some funny bounces sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, 20-point favorites against Missouri at home, noon kickoff. I think they'll roll. I think they'll have something to prove. I really like Tennessee minus that 19.5 today. What say y'all?
Yeah, Missouri. Go ahead, Bobby.
Oh, okay. I was just say, Tennessee. I mean, it's right now they're trying to claw their way back in the playoffs. I still think they have a good path to it, but they've got to make some statements if they want to get in. I think they're going to go out guns blazing today. I think they're going to get a big win.
Yeah, Missouri's been clawing on here the past month or so, barely losing to Kentucky, beating South Carolina, beating Vanderbilt, barely losing to Florida. But today I think that does change. I think Tennessee takes care of them today. I see them covering Tennessee today, as you guys both alluded to. They need some quote unquote statement wins to try and make their way into the top 4 eventually and become playoff bound. I think that Tennessee covers by that 19.5 today. I'm thinking a 3-touchdown victory for them as well.
I also feel like the 38.5 points, the Tennessee over under, man, I'm banging that all day long.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
I think they may hang 50. And look, Missouri is actually much better than what their record indicates, but Tennessee's going to have their foot on the gas pedal, because the one thing they're going to know is that they got to have style points down the stretch too. They can't just win. They got to have style points.
Win convincingly. Yeah. Winning ain't enough at this point. They need to beat these type of teams at least pretty convincingly.
Let's go ahead and switch over. You know what? Looking at the docket, North Carolina at Wake Forest. That game's interesting because North Carolina's got one loss, ranked 15th in the country, and yet they're an underdog to Wake Forest. I find that very interesting because Wake Forest, though they can be a pain, I mean, I think at least it should be a pick 'em. It's jumped up. It's now a 4.5 point favorite.
And I love North Carolina in this one. They got my favorite quarterback in the country. Yes, I said my favorite, Drake May. He's been incredible, nearing 3,000 passing yards on the season. I think if he comes out next year, he could potentially be the top pick of the draft. If not 2 years from now, a very high pick. But Drake May has been making his way. I don't think he'll win the Heisman, but he's been shooting up the Heisman leaderboards. Hartman's been incredible, but I like Drake May in this one today. I don't think they only cover. I think they win straight up. Now, their problem is they don't have a great running back. Drake May's been their leading rusher as well, hovering about 500 yards or so. So their key to victory is get going through the air early and then try and establish any sort of ground game they can later as the game goes on. Because if it's one of those games where they got to be physical, try and outground you and pound you, that ain't going to work. I do like them winning this one today, though, straight up. So I'd take them and that 4 points in a heartbeat.
What say you, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think North Carolina picks up a win today. Not only do they cover, they get the win. So I'd like their money line this one at plus 158. They're 8-1, which at the beginning of the year you thought they were a disappointment team. All of us did, and they sure turned it around. I mean, one loss going into week 11 it is now. So I think they get a win today. It'll be a tough road to the playoffs if they even have a shot at it. But yeah, I like North Carolina this one.
Let's go ahead and hit a couple of others real quick. Notre Dame Navy. This one's interesting. The over under is 40.5. Notre Dame's number is 28.5. How about Navy's number to hit is 10.5? Over under 10.5.
That's almost disrespectful.
I mean, what you're saying is that they're not going to do a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Navy's usually a pain in the ass to defend. 10.5 seems extremely low to me. I think I like that number.
I'm with you.
Yeah. 10.5 on what did you say, Mac?
Navy scoring 10.5 points for the entire game.
And you like the over, you said?
Yeah.
I like the over in that as well. Yeah, 10.5. I mean, they should get that because it could go one of two ways. Either it's a closer game and they're shocking the world a little bit, or they're playing behind so much Notre Dame defense lets off the gas a little bit and they get a couple late scores. I love that over under a 10.5 though.
I just find it very, very strange. If you look at Navy, I'm pulling up their past games. Let me see. So they only scored 10 against Cincinnati, so that's interesting. But they did score 27 against Temple, 20 against Houston, 34 against SMU, 21 against Tulsa, 10 against Air Force. So 2 games this year, they've only scored 10. That just seems like a really low number.
That almost seems disrespectful. I mean, it's like I forget how bad a team may be. 10.5 is just so low. You almost have to take it.
It's really low.
I mean, it just means that you have to score in 3 of the 4 quarters. And one of them needs to be a touchdown.
Get 3 field goals and a safety. That'll do it, in a lot of interesting ways.
That would be a really, really butt clincher to have to cover at that point. I need a safety, but there's 3 minutes left.
Safety on a kneel down as Notre Dame's running out the clock to win it.
Ah, man. Tones, let me get out of this real quick. What is your one big thing in your lock as you walk us off today?
My lock was actually going to be the Bears of Chicago, but I'm not doubling down. We know how double downs work.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, you usually do that, then the bed just falls out from beneath you. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a different route here. I think this team's been playing better football with their backup of late, and I think their opponent might be overlooking them a little bit. I'm heading to Monday Night Football. I got Commanders plus 11. I like that spread for Washington, although they're on the road and the Eagles have been undefeated this year. The Commanders have won 3 of their past 5, and their 2 losses have been less by 4 points to the Titans and to the Vikings. So 2 really good playoff teams, and the Titans and Vikings have upended the Commanders by 4 and 5 points. I see them losing to the Eagles, but I see it right around that mark. 4 or 5 points. I think they're going to play good football. I think Heineke gives them a better chance to keep it competitive than Wentz does. Eagles already got the upper end of them once this year. Commanders are fighting for that 7th seed at 4 and 5, and they're fighting for Ron Rivera's job at this point, because I could see a lot of change going on there after the season with all the, Dan Schneider, Twitter antics, all under that umbrella at this point in time. Crazy shenanigans going on there. But as I walk off, I just want to say a couple things. Awesome time of sports. Some of the events this weekend, we got football in Germany, 9:30 Sunday, Seahawks Bucks. That's going to be really fun. A lot of good college football matchups today. Then tonight, we have a real fun card for UFC fans taking place in Madison Square Garden in the Big Apple. Israel Adesanya, one of the best fighters in the games, takes on Alex Pereira. That should be a really fun one there. A women's fight that's decent for a belt is involved. And then some of the OG names like Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Frankie Edgar, a lot of the fun names that got me into the sport themselves are fighting tonight. So not a huge fight lineup in terms of like totality, great depth matches, but a lot of fun names on this one. Dan Hooker's a fighter I like a lot as well. So really looking forward to a great weekend of sports because I go to bed after UFC tonight. I do my Buccaneers pregame podcast at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time. So for those of you up, join us over on that.
That's
And
early hell.
Hey, breakfast with the Buccaneers, brother. You know, we got a 9:30 game, so that gives us time to beat the pregame shows, get our pregame in, and then next thing you know, we got Buccaneers football, followed by a great day of football. Then Monday
Your show
night.
normally that early, or is it just because it's in Germany?
Just because it's in Germany. Usually we don't even do a pregame on the same day of the game, but since it's a special, we figure why not? Maybe we'll get some, Sprechen die Deutsch to join us from overseas. Wiener
I was about to
Schnitzel
say
and more.
7:30 in the morning. That used to be when I went to bed on Saturday nights.
Hey, we used to do Dixie Football Nation around the likes of that on Saturday.
I don't know, those damn Sunday we didn't.
No, not on a Sunday we didn't. But hey, that's it's football season. That's what I'm made of. That's what I'm here for right now. That's what I'm built for. Between Armchair and Buccaneers, I'm always ready to roll. So it'll be a fun weekend of sports, and then Monday Night Football, Commanders will cover my lock, and I'll be happy to see that.
All right, we're heading to break. We'll be back in a flash. When we come back, we're going to have some fantasy football, college football, and the NFL.
Peace,
See you next week, Tones.
See you, guys. Have a good one.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. The National Football League gets going early Sunday morning, 9:30 Eastern from Munich, Germany. It's the Seattle Seahawks, a 2.5-point dog against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. 1 o'clock Eastern, Broncos are 2.5-point dog at Tennessee in Nashville. 39 is the over-under. Jags are at the Chiefs. KC, 9.5-point favorite. 51 is the line. Browns, Dolphins, Miami, 3.5-point favorite. Over-under is 49. Texans, 4.5-point favorite. Over-under is 40.5. And the Colts, 4.5-point favorite at the Raiders. Over-under is 41. Jeff Saturday's head coaching debut. Vikings are at the Bills. Questions surrounding whether or not Josh Allen will play or not. The Bills are a 3-point favorite. Over-under is just 43. Bears are a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Lions. Over-under 48.5. Saints and Steelers, over-under is 40. New Orleans, 1.5-point favorite. Dallas, -4 at Green Bay. The over-under is 44. Cardinals and Rams, LA, 3-point favorite. Over-under is 40. Sunday night brings you the Chargers and the 49ers. San Fran, a touchdown favorite. 45.5 is the over-under. Monday night football game is the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Commies are 11-point dog. Over-under is 43.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Please like and subscribe today. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterback Show. Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
You're listening to Armchair QB South. Please like and subscribe today. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, Armchair Quarterback South, giving a Southern voice to the world of sports.
So women are just constantly patting themselves on the back about how difficult their lives are, and no one corrects them because, oh, there's just this tornado of like misinformation. I had the most difficult job on the planet. What would you rather be doing? Drilling to the center of the earth, shaking hands with the devil? Every time there's a rumble in the ground, you wait for the whole thing to collapse down on top of you so they can write that folk song about you. You know, would you rather be up in the sunshine, running around with a couple of toddlers that you can send to bed anytime you want on some sort of trumped up charges, right? Because you want to have a drink and watch The Price is Right. You know what I mean?
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Good morning, hour number 3. We are back here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Appreciate you stopping by and checking in. And joining us now is Stephen Troche and Sean O'Toole. Sean, how the hell are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. Funny you played that Bill Burr clip. I did the last weekend when I was subjugated. I played that for my wife, played the Sunday brunch skit, and she had never heard that before. She didn't think it was very funny. Do you want to go to brunch on a Saturday? Do you want to go pick some apples?
Exactly.
No!
Stephen, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Now I've got a busy Saturday ahead of me, so I won't have to watch the Hurricanes. They have just been an embarrassment. I am just I don't even know what to say about them anymore.
Is that an early game or a late game?
3:30, I think. Georgia Tech.
Okay. On C-SPAN Plus or something like that? Where the hell's that at nowadays?
C-SPAN wouldn't carry them.
I had to give Brian hell all morning. It's all I heard all during the offseason is how they're back. 45-3. Yeah, you're back.
Is Georgia Tech that bad that they're only a 1-point favorite?
Georgia Tech's terrible. They're absolutely terrible. With that being said, they are a favorite, I believe.
Yep, by 1 point. Take them basically.
I think the difference is they're the home team, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would be the only reason why I can't find that game on the slate. Is it a 3:30 or is it earlier? Or is it
3:30? It's 3:30. It's on ESPN3. I don't even think it's being broadcast on TV.
It's ESPN.com.
It's on ESPN News Plus. Another thing they're trying to get you to buy. Did they? I don't know if they took the damn number off the board. I'm trying to find it on the site that I go to, and I do not see it at all. That is strange because it was on there before. I know it was because I was curious what the line was because when I was looking at the stupid underdog picks. Speaking of the stupid underdog picks, let's go ahead and hit those up. Games already taken already. Mississippi State, FIU, Nebraska, and Ole Miss. So there you have that. And up first would be Sean O'Toole with your swing at the fences.
Well, it's a pretty big swing, but I am going to go with the Huskies of UConn, trying to get bowl eligible at home against the Flames of Liberty and Hugh Freeze. Going to be cold, going to be ugly. I'm going to give UConn plus 13.5 a swing.
And who are they playing?
Liberty at home.
Liberty.
Who is still independent until they come into CUSA next year, I think. So
the Miami Hurricanes don't know, but they're about to be independent. Them and Georgia Tech are getting very stern letters this morning. Okay, so
if If he was honest, I wonder if Manny would rather be in Corvallis.
Yeah, I see it on ESPN scoreboard as far as 3:30 ESPN, but for whatever reason they've taken it off. I don't know.
I mean, basically, I like that game is the equivalent of the Shiva Bowl. Like whichever team loses, they are the worst.
I feel like there's always money to be made in the game, though. You can always find a way around it. Like, will Miami be motivated to come off to get off the turf after getting embarrassed at home, or are they going to pack it in? Georgia Tech, they're 4-5. Miami's 4-5. Georgia Tech recently. It's funny, the scores are pretty similar. They lost to Florida State 41-16. Man, how bad is Virginia Tech? They beat Virginia Tech last week. Virginia Tech is 2-7 now. That might be the worst team in the ACC. I thought what you were saying, I thought this was going to decide who the worst team is. Virginia Tech might be even worse.
Just an update. I'm on DraftKings right now. Their sports book. Georgia is a 2.5-point favorite.
Georgia
Tech. I mean, my bad.
Georgia Tech,
yeah. Well, on the Caesar, it's a 1.5, I believe, unless that's changed. I can but I was looking for because we're still in hell here in Florida where you can't bet legally. So you have to go to different sites so something must have happened for them to jump up to 2.5. Caesar still has it at 1. And then the other offshore one, they took it off their board for whatever reason. So someone must not be playing.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of that Miami Georgia Tech talk. If we haven't lost every one of our viewers, let's go ahead and Trosh, you are the next man up on Stupid Underdog Picks. For y'all who haven't followed this before, we pick an underdog to win outright. If your team wins, you get the entire spread that their underdog is in. So we're not just trying to get them to cover the spread. But if the team covers the spread, you get 2 points. If they don't cover the spread, you lose 2 points. Where are you going this week?
I'm going Navy over Notre Dame. They are plus 17 right now. Man, Notre Dame has looked good the past couple of weeks. I mean, like they absolutely destroyed Clemson last week, but these games are always going to be tough against Navy because Navy they want to slow the game down. They are very successful running the ball and they win at the line of scrimmage. I think after Notre Dame riding the high the last 2 weeks, they're going to come into this noon kickoff going into the Raven Stadium in Baltimore. And I mean, we've seen it before, these low totals with 2 touchdown plus spreads. Like that spread, the underdog usually covers that 9 times out of 10. So I'm riding Navy today, and I think they have a chance to win it.
Okay. And I don't know if you heard it earlier, but we were talking about the over under in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The team totals, and I took it during the break. Navy is 10.5 over under. And it's like Bobby said, that's kind of like a disrespect, but I'm just thinking man, you can fall back asswards into 11 points in a college football game.
Mm-hmm.
All it really takes is one turnover on Notre Dame's side of the 40-yard line, and you could set yourself up for a score. And plus, Navy's such a pain in the ass to deal with because it's like the old Georgia Tech offense where you got all the moving parts. Sometimes they may only score 7 points, but there's other times where teams can't figure them out, and they put. Not to mention, there's a letdown factor. Notre Dame just upset a good Clemson team,
exactly,
physical Clemson team. I like your pick. I swung for the fences because I'm looking for, I'm down by 30 points in ours. So I'm like, whatever. I took Nebraska, even though Nebraska doesn't even have their quarterback playing. So I'm hoping Josh Heupel transfers to Nebraska to actually play quarterback. I don't know what the hell I'm looking for, but I'm hoping they can at least cover the spread. Next man up is Bobby. You are leading the pack. Where are you going today?
I got Washington plus 12 against Oregon. They're 7-2 on season right now, so they're not a bad team. And I think Oregon, there's a chance they drop a game. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think that loss is coming, whether it be today or down the road. But I think at least Washington covers, and I think they have a chance to win.
That's a good one. There were a lot of ones that I liked, but when you're down by this much, you have to just start throwing grenades in there. I like the Washington one. I like the Ole Miss one that Doug took. I even kind of like Mississippi State because Georgia could be coming off of an emotional win against Tennessee. And if Georgia's offense doesn't show up, which they've done it a few times this year, it can get hairy. They're probably going to win the game, but what you're looking at when you take a stupid underdog is fourth quarter. Is there something like blinking, like upset alert, and it's your team that you let's go. All right.
Am I ahead of Doug now?
I'm sorry, do what?
Have I passed Doug or am I just ahead of?
Yeah, you're up by 4 points now because you covered the spread. He did not last time.
Nice.
So what is this? Okay. All right. So moving on from that, let's go ahead and go to DraftKings. Let me pull this up as here we go. Try to pull this up. Who's I didn't even look. So we didn't do one last week. And
it should be Trosh, Bobby, you, then me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who won the very last one.
I think I was in the lead for some time, but I'm not sure if I hung on.
I know I finished fourth because I played that lineup in some other games, and it did horrible.
Let me see. I'm just trying to figure out. Well, hell.
Week 8 was the last one, right?
Yes.
Bobby did win.
Bobby won. Okay, cool.
By 20 points.
All right.
Oh, big win. All right. I'll go ahead and start my lineup then. I got Tua at 6,700 versus Cleveland. I think 6,700 is a steal still. I think he's going to be one of the best fantasy quarterbacks by the time the season's over. So get him while he's cheap. Then I went big here. I got Derrick Henry at 8,300. I know Denver's defense is solid, but with Tannehill at the very least banged up, he might not even play. I still think they're going to lean on him, especially after he didn't get a lot of touches last week. And then running back 2, I got Jeff Wilson at 5,500. He actually matched Mostert last week for the most touches amongst Dolphins running backs, so I think it could go up from here. He was able to get in the end zone, so I like him at 5,500. Wide receiver 1, I got AJ Brown at 7,900. Sorry, against Washington. It's a primetime game. I think he's going to have a nice game. I think he's going to be worth the 7,900. My wide receiver 2, I got Christian Kirk for 5,900 against Kansas City. I think they're going to be playing from behind for most of that game. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I like that one. My wide receiver 3, I got Josh Palmer at 5,900 as well against San Francisco. He had a lot of points last week with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen out, and they still are out this week. So I think he'll get the most targets amongst Chargers receivers. Then my tight end, I got Dulcich, 3,400 against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are 26th against tight ends in fantasy, and he's been relied on a lot in that Broncos offense lately. I think he'll get some targets. And then my flex, I got Jahan Dotson at 3,800. He's my big steal of the week. That's my guy. He still leads rookie receivers in touchdowns, even though he hasn't played since week 4. Get him while he's cheap. He'll probably shoot up a little bit after this week. I really like him at 3,800. And then my defense, I got the Colts for 2,500 against Vegas. I don't trust Vegas' offense. I think it could be a low-scoring game. And they're a cheaper option, so I went with them.
All right. Whose turn is it to do the stack?
Go Trosh.
Trosh? Okay. All right, Steven, where are you going on the stack this week?
I'm going back. Like Bobby's lineup is basically half my lineup. I'm going to go Tua and Jalen Waddle. I believe he's at like 76, 7,700. Yep, 76.
Okay. So 2 and 1. Yeah, that should be a pretty high scoring game. Even with Jacoby Brissett under center. I think those two teams will go up and down the field on each other.
Bobby.
Is that to me? All right. I'm going to go with my budget play then. I was hyping him up, so I might as well go with him again. I'm going to go with Dotson at 3,800. Really like him this week at that price.
Say 3,800?
Yep.
Got to scroll down there to find him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he hasn't played since week 4. So, and when he did play, he was getting in the end zone. So,
and he should be in a situation where he's playing catch up. Who's next?
You, Mac.
Okay. I am going to take a guy who should be in a pretty good situation this week because they're going to be playing from behind. He's going to get passes thrown to him. Give me Travis Etienne at 7,100. They should be behind in the Kansas City game. So I'm not necessarily seeing him get a lot on the ground, although Henry did churn through that defense last week. I'm thinking more of dump down passes and whatnot. All right, who's next?
It's me. I'm gonna grab our tight end, and I'm gonna take a name that we haven't heard a lot this year, but there's some very, very, very promising data on him. Cole Kmet at $3,400 going against the Lions. He is actually leading the Bears in red zone targets. They haven't been in the red zone a ton, and they've been running a lot of RPO for Fields. But I think the Lions will sell out to put a stop to that, and I think he could be a guy that gets a couple of tutties this week pretty easy.
Okay, Steven, what you got?
Oh, I know. Like, I'm going to save a little bit of receiver again, just to give us some more room to play with. I know there's plenty of running backs to choose from. So I'm going on Matt Collins at 4,200. Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow both hit the IR, and that's a lot of targets opened up in that offense. Hollins, HO.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I couldn't believe he was that cheap. I saw it earlier today, Steve, because he shredded Tennessee when they were out earlier this year.
I mean, like I saw for the last 2 years in Miami, he was basically Tua's safety blanket. I mean, he's just he gets open. He's a reliable receiver, and he can, he's big. He's like 6'5". He can get up and get those contested catches. I mean, 4,200 is a steal for the volume he's going to see.
All right, Bobby, off to you.
All right. Let me go ahead and grab Josh Palmer at flex. I think he's going to get quite a few targets, being the only healthy receiver in LA. I think he's going to get have another good game.
Okay, so that gives us a chance to really rack up some points on our running back. Give me Saquon Barkley at home against the worst rush defense on the planet. And they're coming off a bye. So, Sean, that goes to you, and we have 2,700 to play with on the defense.
2,700 to play with on the defense. I'm actually going to go a little crazy. Well, not crazy, but we might have some money left over to see if we want to upgrade another spot. Give me the Vikings at 2,200. This will change if Allen ends up playing, but all my reporting that I'm seeing is it's really going to be game time. And even if he does play, I think he's going to be minimized. And buddy, if it's Case Keenum, that could be some fun.
So we've got $500 that we can play with. We could upgrade some receivers for sure if we wanted to. Anyone got anywhere that we want to go?
I actually like the lineup as is.
All right, cool. Just throw it in there and see what happens.
Yeah, there's nothing that jumps out at me as an obvious grab.
I mean, the only thing I could think of would be upgrading one of Dotson or Hollins to Donovan Peoples-Jones to get some exposure on the Cleveland side.
I don't like that any better than those two guys. So, yeah, I saw that.
There you go.
Yeah, I would probably, if it were me doing it by myself, I probably would grab Peoples-Jones, and that's a tough one. I think I would take out Dotson just because you don't know who I mean, Heineke's not as trustworthy. And I feel like Hollins is going to have himself a pretty good game this weekend. Okay.
Have they just benched Wentz, or is he hurt? I haven't been paying attention.
He's on IR.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
And by the way Heineke's been playing, I don't think he'll come back.
That dude. Good Lord.
I don't understand. We were talking about this on Wednesday show. I don't understand why he gets absolutely no respect in his own organization. Every offseason, they're looking for a new quarterback, and every offseason they bring in a guy like damn Carson Wentz who ain't worth a damn. And then something happens, and Heineke gets thrown in there, and he plays better than the guy you brought in and wasted a bunch of money and draft picks on.
I mean, he plays better, but it's not like he's not a franchise quarterback. But let's not kid ourselves here.
No, and I get that. But if it were me and I were Washington, I would draft I would have used one of my damn picks that I gave away.
Agreed.
I would draft a quarterback, develop him behind Heineke in a way you get. I think it's because he doesn't have quite the arm strength. So all the metrics don't line up and they get too much into their own heads and don't look at the fact that, man, this guy's a winner. He's a gutsy player. He finds a way to win.
The tape lords and analytics community do not like Heineke because of his arm strength. That's always been the reason why. But
right.
I agree with you.
But
I agree with you. He's a gamer.
Games,
he's a winner.
Yeah. Like if you watch the games, he's a guy, a lot of folks aren't in love with Tua because of his arm strength. But if you watch the games, what the hell are we doing here? Right.
He's got the arm. I mean, Tua's got the arm strength.
He not compared to the He
Well, I mean, of course,
not
like compared to like the Allens and the Mahomes, yeah.
He's in the same boat as a Heineke. He he's a little better, but then again, Heineke doesn't have Tyreek Hill and he doesn't have Jalen Waddle. You're right. So I mean, that right there can make damn. I mean, if you got Heineke and if you got Waddle and Hill, any four of us could be a serviceable quarterback.
I mean, Heineke's got all-pro running back Antonio Gibson.
Okay. I stand corrected. He's got a juggernaut. Okay. He's got that, and he's got a damn running back who was shot in the leg. All right, let's go. And he's only in the best damn division in football right now. All right, moving on. Let's get into some stardoms and situms and some NFL. By the way, college football line favorite that you like the most right now going into today. Sean, I'll start with you.
Favorite that I like the most. I have seen a lot of chatter that LSU's in for a trap game at Arkansas. I don't believe in Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas is very good. And I do think LSU is good. I think they're a much different team than the one that Florida State beat in New Orleans earlier this year. And they've shown that in the last handful of weeks. So LSU -3.5. I would hesitate to make it my lock, but I would be very surprised if they don't win by 7 or more or 10 or more, to be honest.
Man, I'm on the opposite fence of that.
Ooh.
I think Arkansas in Arkansas, early kickoff, LSU coming off an emotional win against Alabama. It's got upset city written all over it. And yeah, LSU might be a better team, but Florida State's definitely a better team too. LSU still is not the 7th best team in the country, though. That's absurd. The disrespect in the other conferences is real. When you have teams
we've known that for years
that are having much better years than LSU, it is ridiculous.
They might not be the best team in their own state. Tulane might be better than them.
What the hell are they doing behind Clemson, right? Clemson loses 1 game on the road. LSU has 2 losses. I don't know. I just feel like every year we're dealing with an SEC team that shouldn't be there, that ESPN is just pumping up. And this year it's LSU because they've got 14 people at their studio that went there. I don't know what kind of internship you're running for out of Louisiana, but stop it. All right, let's move on to some stardom situms. We don't have a bunch we're going to get into, but we do have a handful. So we'll start this off. We'll go in order of Bobby, Sean, and Steven, and we'll go from there, okay? Unless I tell you different, it's half point PPR, and you're picking one. All right. Starting off with Bobby. Are you starting Tony Pollard or Najee Harris this week?
Yes. There has been some reports about Jalen Warren potentially getting some more touches. I'm not sure how much, but truthfully, with how Najee's playing, I'd go with Pollard here.
Sean, Darrell Henderson, AJ Dillon, or Brian Robinson?
My God, can I shoot myself in the leg? I'm gonna go Henderson on that one, but I wouldn't feel good about any of those three.
Steven. Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift.
Man, you got to go Swift there. I'm not trusting Gibson against that defense.
You're not worried about his what did he get, like 5 touches last game?
Yep.
Sean, what is the deal with Swift? I mean, are they just not going to use him this year because the season's lost, or like what the hell is going on? Because he actually averages the highest yards per touch in the National Football League, but the problem is he's not getting any touches.
He's been dealing with a shoulder injury since week 1. He missed a couple weeks from it. The reporting I've read is that this is more of he's going to have off-season surgery situation. So they're just not running him between the tackles. They're giving those touches to Jamal Williams, and that limits the number of times he's on the field.
Okay. I figured it had something to do with that. I mean, I keep seeing him questionable because of the shoulder, but like, my God, at some point, either sit him, or, I mean, at this point, the way their season's going, I say sit him. But anyways, Bobby, back to you. You going Kenneth Walker or Damian Pierce?
Oh man, you're gonna make me choose between them. Let's see. Walker, he's playing Tampa. Walker's been having a lot more success getting in the end zone because of the offense he's in. I'll go with him. But I like Pierce more as a player.
Sean, Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders?
Ooh, it's a toughie. Sanders tends to lose some carries at the goal line to other people, specifically Gainwell. Give me Jacobs, because let me tell you, any chance I have to be on the opposite side of whatever the hell is happening in Indianapolis right now with their Cookie Dukes owner and Jeff Saturday coming off the bench from, being on NFL Live to coach that team. And Shaq Leonard just got put on IR for the year, their best tackler and best run stopper. Give me Jacobs, dude. Be against the Colts any way you can.
And Steven, Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones, or Ezekiel Elliott?
I'm going to go Aaron Jones. I mean, it looks like in Tampa, Rashad White is starting to take over that backfield. Fournette's getting kind of phased out there. But yeah, I like the upside of Aaron Jones this week. AJ Dillon is just not good.
Bobby, Alan Lazard or Brandon Ayuk?
Give me Ayuk. I like the direction of the 49ers offense. It's not great, but, I think he can get some touches.
Sean, Jerry Jeudy, Gabe Davis, or Deontay Johnson?
I'm going to go Deontay Johnson there, only because this could be a week where I see the Steelers offense actually overperforming because the Saints defense is so bad. They have basically 2 guys, 1.5, Cam Jordan and Matthew, and that's it.
Steven, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, or Adam Thielen?
I'm going to go Darnell Mooney. Pittman's almost been unusable since Ellinger is taking over at quarterback, and Thielen going into Buffalo. I like it. I don't see that game being super high scoring, so give me all the Mooney.
Bobby, back to you. Wan'Dale Robinson, Matt Collins, or Chase Claypool?
With how the Bears offenses have been scoring, and given the fact that they're playing the Lions this week, I'll go with Claypool.
Sean, MVS or Alec Pierce?
Again, I can't touch the Colts in any scenario. I got to go MVS there.
And Steven, Robert Woods, Paris Campbell, or Julio Jones? Oof.
Oh. Who was the first one you said again?
Robert Woods,
Yeah, I'm gonna go Robert Woods just because I think Tannehill has a chance of playing, right?
It's looking more and more like he is.
Then yeah, that's better than Ellinger, and yeah, that's a bad trio.
They had a
Robert
report
Woods there.
this morning that said that the Titans are expecting him to play. So,
Okay.
We'll do a couple of tight ends real quick. Bobby, are you going? Is it Dulcich? Is that how it's pronounced?
Dulcich, or something like that. Yeah, you're close.
Dulcich. Okay. Greg Dulcich or Pat Fryermuth?
Well, it wouldn't make sense for me to not pick Dulcich because I got him in my fantasy line or my DFS lineup. So I'll go with him.
Sean, you going Dalton Schultz or Tyler Higbee?
Schultz has been a huge disappointment for me this year. I had a lot of shares of him in fantasy, so I hate to ride him, but nothing is going well for the Rams offense that isn't named Cooper Kupp. So give me Schultz.
And Steven, Gerald Everett or Cole Kmet?
I actually like both of those options a lot, but I'm going to go Cole Kmet there. I can, like Sean said earlier, I think he has at least one touchdown, maybe two touchdown upside.
Quarterbacks real quick. Bobby, Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff?
I'm not touching that Bills-Vikings game this week. I'd go with Jared Goff.
Sean, oof.
Not confident.
Sean, here's a fun one. Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers?
Oh my God. Only because of all the injuries to the Titans defense, particularly Simmons being out. Give me Russ, because I think he'll have more time. Then Rodgers is going to be on his back within a half a second every down this week. Their offensive line is horrible.
Steven, Tom Brady or Jimmy G?
Give me Jimmy G just because he doesn't have to worry about the travel to Europe and all that, and then he's got a home game.
I heard a pretty interesting take yesterday. They were arguing that Justin Herbert was the most overrated player in the National Football League. I don't know if I believe that, but it was still interesting to listen to.
I'm not going to say most overrated. I think he's I think he gets a little bit too much credit, though. I'll say that.
I think the coaching staff is just awful at LA, and I still think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback.
I think he is, but I feel like he gets more excuses than just about any quarterback.
Well,
that's one thing I know.
At that same token, I have to put up the fact that Keenan Allen's been gone the entire season.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just been an absolute crap show. All right, let's go ahead and get into some lines real quick. Let's go ahead and start with we'll start with the NFL and we'll back over to college. Some interesting lines that I want to highlight today because they're more the most betted on games of the weekend. First one is obvious because it's the only game on at the time. Seahawks, Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are giving up 2.5 points. I feel like Seahawks are just being very underrated for whatever damn reason. I like the Seahawks plus 2.5. What say y'all?
Completely agree there. It's like Seattle is a much better team than anyone's been giving them credit for this year. Anybody listen to this show, I've been riding Seattle all year long. I'm not stopping against a Buccaneers team that hasn't looked like they can beat anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come up later in the no way parlay. I've ridden them all year, and they've only disappointed me once in New Orleans. So I don't get it.
I'm in the same boat as you guys. Until the Bucs show me that have turned it around, I'm not betting on them. I think the Seahawks not only cover, I think they win.
Where's our proof that they turned it around? I've heard that a lot this week. They beat the Rams. The Rams suck. The Rams are
not good.
The Rams
I'll tell you
are
what, the Rams are going to beat us this week, though. I guarantee that.
I mean, this is the same Bucs team that lost to the Panthers, Steelers, and Packers.
Exactly. I feel like this division is the race to 6 wins to be able to win it.
Looking like it.
I mean, what in God's name was that Thursday night?
I
I thought Atlanta would at least show up. They didn't do a damn thing. That was pathetic.
Yeah.
Broncos Titans. Titans are a 2.5-point favorite at home. If you're gonna grab it, I'd say grab it now before they announce that Tannehill's playing, because at that point it's going to jump at least a point. I still think the Titans are gonna beat the Broncos. I don't think it'll be a very pretty game, but I do think they get the W and cover the spread. What say y'all?
Yeah.
My only concern in this game is what I mentioned in the last segment about Russell is with Simmons out, they're counting on a lot from Mario Edwards Jr. again. And he looked great Sunday night. I mean, dude was wrecking folks, but a lot of faith in Weaver and Edwards and some guys that aren't at the same level as Cunningham and Simmons. And Dupree is my only concern there. The Broncos, if Russell has time in the pocket, he can carve up those DBs.
Does anyone like the Broncos?
Nope. Nah, not gutsy enough to take them.
I don't understand why they're only a 2.5-point underdog. Like, it seems like they're almost begging you to take Tennessee and it's going to fall flat. But what the hell have the Broncos done to warrant being that close on a road game? And it's not quite West Coast, East Coast, but they are playing at 10 a.m. local time.
Yep.
Strange. Can the Jaguars cover against the Chiefs? They're getting 9.5.
They are definitely a better team than their record shows, but KC's going to be they're going to be out for revenge after Jags beat them at home last year. I mean, 9.5 points is incredibly generous. I think they're just going to beat the brakes off the Jags this week.
If spread's that big, I just tend to leave them alone because it's unpredictable. I feel like that's tough. They can keep it close so they could get trounced.
I just feel like when you go to overtime on a Sunday night game, sometimes there's a hangover, and 9.5 is a big, big spread.
Jags' largest loss this season is by 8 to the Eagles. I would take the Jags plus the 9.5 because, again, I'm with Magee. Late Sunday night game, and dude, the Chiefs got the hell beat out of them in that game too. So I don't know.
And I'm not going to say complacency, but you almost wonder if they might put it on cruise control, because they know if they wake up in the fourth quarter, as long as they're not down by 3 scores, they can beat the Jags.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's where backdoor covers come from.
I think we also fall into line when we're big sports fans and follow the sport for years. We fall in line with thinking of the Jags being the same old Jags, but they are a better team this year, even though their record's not that impressive. Browns Dolphins. This one I like a lot. 3.5 point favorite. I think the over under is 49. I don't have it in front of us because the screen's a little smaller, but I think the over under was at 49 last time I saw it.
Right.
I really like the over in that game.
I'll probably be circling back to that one by the time we're doing our locks, but I like it being a high scoring game, and I like Dolphins to cover.
Our resident Dolphin fan, what say you, Steven?
I mean, yeah, the 49 over under feels like it's that over should hit easy. I'll be attacking that game in fantasy every which way. Dolphins are the better team. I just have that sinking feeling that this is just one of those games. The Browns are a physical team. I think the Browns could actually win this game. I hate to say it, but I don't have a good feeling about it.
What say you, Sean?
Yeah, the thing I haven't heard enough of is the Dolphins are really good at rushing the passer. They've really gotten after people with Phillips, and now they have Chubb. But they've been run on pretty decently this year, and nobody runs the ball better than the Browns with Chubb and Hunt. I would never have enough stones to take the under. I think it's going to go over 49 pretty easy. But Browns plus 3.5 is a bet I can definitely talk myself into without a lot of difficulty.
All right. And Sunday night game of the week to me is it's an interesting one. And it's a little odd that San Francisco is that big of a favorite, but I think you have to make them a favorite because they're coming off a bye. They're at home. They should, at this point, I think CMC is going to be a full part of their offense. But 7 points is a lot of points to lay. I'm still going to take the 49ers, but I don't feel great about it.
I think a lot of that line is also who the Niners are getting back in their offensive packages, right? Samuel was a full participant all week. They've gotten some guys back on offense. I think McGlinchey is going to be back. I don't know about Trent Williams just yet. He might be down and out for the year. I'm not sure, but they're getting a lot of bodies back. And on the flip side, you mentioned this earlier, Bobby, when you took Palmer in your formats, the Chargers are just a mash unit. I mean, they're beat up all over the place. Their defense is a mess. They just released their first round pick from last year, Jerry Tillery, or was it 2020 first round? I don't remember, but I'm having a hard time with this line because I can't talk myself into taking the opposite side and taking the Chargers. I could see the Niners winning by 2 touchdowns easier than I could see the Chargers covering.
What say y'all?
Yeah, I think San Fran's going to win this game. I mean, like you guys kind of covered it all there. They get Debo back. CMC is going to be like fully involved in that offense. Chargers just without Keenan Allen, without Mike Williams, they're not going to have the firepower to keep up.
I know everybody kind of subconsciously thinks of the Chargers as a good team because of how much hype they had going into the year. But they suck. That's the truth. They're terrible. I mean, they were so close to blowing it last week to the Falcons, and you saw how bad that Falcons team is last night or on Thursday night. Sorry, the Chargers just aren't good this year. That's just what it is. Whether it be injury or what the case is, they suck. And I think the 49ers are going to handle business.
I love watching tape breakdown shows. Like Baldinger has a really good one on the NFL Network that I like. He hates everything the Chargers are doing. Like every week he's attacking their offensive game plan. It's like 3rd and 15s where they're running like 2 drags and a stick route, like nothing that's going more than 7 yards up the field. And he's just like, I can just see it on his face in these shows. He's like, what are we doing? That goes back to, I don't think their coaching staff's very good. And Magee said that earlier. I really don't think their coaching staff's good.
I mean, they made some questionable calls in the final game last year that cost them a playoff spot, right?
Yep.
And it just seems like that's carried over and they just continue to just crap the bed. Any other NFL games that have y'all's eyes before we flip over to college?
I'll go one really quick because you scroll past it. Texans, Giants. I don't think a lot of people have the brass to take the Texans plus the 4.5. I want to read out really quick the margin of victory of the Giants' 6 wins: 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 5. The largest they've won by is 7. Texans coming off a bye, and their last game was on a Thursday night. I'm not saying the Texans can win this game, but the Giants barely eking out a 23-21 game or 21-20 is definitely something I can foresee. Mills comes out and chucks the ball all over the place. Cooks goes off, or Pierce busts an 80-yarder in the, first drive. I just don't think the Giants win a blowout there.
Anyone else?
Yeah, the one I'm liking a lot is Steelers plus 1.5 at home against the Saints. I mean, New Orleans just isn't a good team. I don't know why they're sticking with Andy Dalton right now. But, I mean, like their biggest flaw that's going to help Pittsburgh is they can't get after the quarterback whatsoever. Kenny Pickett's throwing the ball 45, 50 times a game. I think he's really going to get going there, and this is going to be kind of the mini breakout for Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh.
Bobby, what say you?
I don't have a lot of games that I'm really looking at that I'm excited about, but I guess if there was one that I'll talk about, I'd say Rams -3. Cardinals are another team that sucks. Bad coaching, beat up by injuries. Same situation as the Chargers, actually. They're just not a good team, and the Rams are kind of clinging on for dear life. So I think this is a must-win week game for them. I think they'll get the job done.
If John Wolford's starting that game over Stafford, do you still feel the same way?
Well, he beat us to get in the play, or he beat us to knock us out of the playoffs a couple of years ago. So if there's any team I have confidence in beating, it's probably us.
I would have grabbed it, and I did grab it much earlier in the week when the line was much higher. But it is not sounding like Josh Allen's going to play. And the Vikings are still getting points here. They're getting 3 at Buffalo. And I get why everyone's in love with Buffalo, but it's a big damn difference between Chase Keenum behind center and Josh Allen. And, this would be a game that I would love to have the points in my pocket.
You just combine Chase Daniel and Case Keenum into one person. Chase Keenum. I like it. Good job.
Exactly. Is that what I said?
You said Chase Keenum. I'm like, we just made 2 lifetime backup quarterbacks, one guy. I love it. Let's make things easier.
Well, remember, Keenum is the reason why Kirk Cousins is in Minnesota.
I was just about to say that same thing. Keenum's going to have a revenge narrative. He's going to want to show Minnesota like what they're missing out on.
And they're going to remember, they're going to go, yeah, man, we're good, man. We're good.
150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions.
There's a little bit of a revenge factor for Diggs as well. But if Josh Allen's not in that game, give me the Vikings and the points all day long.
It would have been fun to have Allen playing this week, or just healthy in general this week, because of that revenge factor with Diggs. I didn't really think about that until now.
Yeah, I just I don't even know who the hell I would start in fantasy. You have to start Diggs, but if Allen doesn't play, I think I'd be benching all my Bills.
That's fair. Maybe they're running backs, because they'll probably rely on them a little bit more. I could still see you starting them, but
man,
not a lot to be confident in.
Trying to figure out which. There's a better chance that Hines has a big day out of their backfield, because we get a bunch of dump down passes from Keenum.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Going on to college football, some of the bigger games of the day. We do want to talk Michigan, Nebraska real quick, since we got a Michigan fan here. Sean, they're going to cover that 30.5.
I don't like their odds to cover the 30.5, because Harbaugh tends to take his foot off the gas once he's up 3 to 4 touchdowns, or at least he has for most of this year. And honestly, I'm way more worried about next week's game than I am this week's game when we host Illinois. Really, really plucky Illinois team that's annoying to play. That game concerns me way more than this one. I don't like Michigan covering spreads that big. Unless they get a couple defensive touchdowns, I don't see it.
Moving on from that, Ohio State, Indiana. Anyone give Indiana a prayer in hell? 40-point underdogs.
Nope.
Not even a chance.
You and I were all aboard the Tom Allen hype train after the COVID year, and it turns out that was just because of the COVID year. There's no evidence to support anything to the contrary.
I got a feeling that it's going to be – they might have that damn spread covered by the half. I'm tempted to take it. I just hate taking really big spreads, because then if someone starts out a little slow, the next thing you know, you're fumbling and bumbling. You're like, oh crap, and then you have to start breaking out the calculator in your head. Well, I got to average 17 points the next 3 quarters, or I'm screwed. Oh, make it 24 points the next 2 quarters, or I'm screwed. And the next thing you know, you're like unreasonably talking yourself into, if they can score 5 touchdowns in the next 6 minutes, I'll be okay. I hate taking the big spreads. Any college games that have got your eyes before we get into our locks?
I got eyeballs all over that UCF Tulane game. That is a fascinating game to me. I love what both of those programs are doing right now.
What is that? A 7:00 start?
3:30.
No, it's 3:30. Yeah, it's after. I'll be at the NTSU game, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on it.
Who is middle playing today?
They are hosting Charlotte, who is by far, not by far, the worst team in Conference USA. They're close, though. I don't think they're as bad as FIU.
I see.
NTSU, I think they're like 10.5 point favorites or something like that.
Yeah.
It should be one.
Yeah, that's
Charlotte's very, very bad. Very bad.
Central Florida Tulane, the over-under is 54.5.
That seems low.
It does seem low.
What are you guys thinking on TCU Texas? Texas is 7-point favorite right now.
I'm thinking about doing something crazy like taking TCU and Ole Miss on the money line. That's what I'm thinking about.
I love it. Do it. Do it.
Go for it, though. Yeah. I can see it.
TCU Texas is like the team that always comes back against the team that always gets up early and blows leads. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I really do hope TCU wins because this is their biggest, kind of test left. Even if they lost in the Big 12 championship game, that would be disappointing, but it's not unforeseen. I really want them to win out because I just can't stand another cycle of the loser of the Ohio State Michigan game, being in the playoff and having all the SEC heads throw tomatoes at us Big Ten fans, or a 2-loss SEC team being in the playoff, which is a real possibility.
All right, let's go ahead and get into. We'll go ahead and pull this out so we can see everybody. Let's go ahead and get into. We already done the Super Underdog picks. It is time to do our locks. Bobby, we'll start with you.
I mentioned it earlier. I'm sticking with it. Dolphins Browns over 49.5. I think they hit with ease. I really like the over in this one. I think you said it earlier. They're going to be going up and down the field on each other. I just don't see how this hits under.
All right. Steven, what say you?
Man, I was all prepped and ready, but you mentioned that the team total for Navy right now, the over-under for that is 11.5. I don't know how I could go anything else. I mean, like you said, like you can almost fall over and stumble into 12 points in college football. So give me it's right now 11.5 over team total for Navy.
That tells you some money's came in on him because it's jumped a full point in the last hour and a half. So that means that somebody believes in them.
16.5 now.
Or the fix is in. Sean, what is your lock?
Every week there's one line in the NFL that makes me scratch my head. And this week it's the Cowboys only being a 4-point favorite in Green Bay. I get that it's Lambeau. I understand. I don't think people have watched as much of the Packers as I have this year. The Packers stink. Their offensive line stinks. And the Cowboys are going to go in there and absolutely bulldoze the Packers. I'm putting money on it. I'm all over it in every book that I have an account in, and more than $5. I think Cowboys coming off a bye are going to go in there and absolutely railroad the Packers. And it's going to be another week of, what do they do with Rodgers? Is he going to leave after this year? Of course he's going to leave after this year. Or the coaching staff's going to be fired. One of the two.
That interception he threw in the end zone against Detroit on the
which one?
Yeah,
the one where he's fading across. I believe it was Hawkinson that picked it off.
No, Hutchinson. Yeah, no, I know.
Sorry, Hutchinson. That ball was nowhere near, and I know that they were trying to do a trick play to a lineman. The thing was, the lineman was wide open, and that ball was nowhere near him. He underthrew that by about 5 yards. And for those who didn't see the pass, that may sound bad. Now it's real bad because it was only about an 8-yard pass. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was like, holy crap. Because I saw the play unfold. I was watching Red Zone. I'll play unfold. I see the guy wide open. I see him chuck it. I'm thinking wide open touchdown. All I could think of at the time as he let it go is like, this ain't gonna do any good. Damn offensive lineman's catching the damn ball. I go, holy crap! It didn't even get close to him.
Yeah, the first one is arguably worse because Lazard was wide open in the back of the end zone. His guy was a half a yard behind him, and Rodgers did that instead of the over the top and hitting him. He did that little sidearm flick thing, and it hits a dude's helmet, and Jerry Hughes comes down with it. So it's just like he's not playing good, and I think he wants to be out of there. I think he's ticked that they traded Adams, and that he's thrown to all these guys who have bad hands or can't get open. I don't know.
Okay, time to do our walk-offs on the one big thing. Bobby, what you got?
All right. Well, we only got 2 more regular season weeks of college football after this, so make sure you enjoy it. coming to the end of the season for college football, and before we know it, it'll be the same for NFL. So enjoy the football we have left. And then tonight, a big night for me for sports. I got some good college football games, and then big UFC card. I got one of my favorite fighters fighting tonight for revenge, Israel Adesanya. Want to see him get a win tonight. UFC 281, great card, Madison Square Garden. Tune in. And then my one big thing, this is a bit of a prediction down the road, but I want to get it in now. Eagles, look, they're great right now, but I've seen this story the past 2 years. Steelers started hot a couple years ago. They were undefeated for a while and blew it towards the end of the season. Cardinals last year started like 7-0. They were 9-1 at one point, I think. And wild card exit, they were terrible at the end of the year. I don't see the Eagles sustaining this. They're peaking early. I'm predicting it now. My one big thing is that the Eagles blow it this year.
When you say blow it, what do you mean? Like don't make the playoffs?
Don't make the playoffs, and they might even get a bye. I don't see them making it past the second round. But right now they have Super Bowl expectations with how they've started. But I feel like I've seen this story too many times. It just feels like they're peaking early.
Don't make it past the second round, which would be realistically the first round that they play. So, wow. Okay. Man, would they come unglued in Philly? Sean, what is your one big thing as you walk us off?
My one big thing this week's No Way Parlay, and this will come up again. I'm gonna buff a little bit what Bobby was just saying there. Jaguars plus 323 on the money line. Again, it's called No Way for a reason. Seattle plus 116 in Munich against Tampa. That one I actually think is the most likely to hit. And then if you really want to get wild, Commanders plus 366 in Philadelphia on Monday night. You put all three of those together, it's about plus 4,100. So $10 wins you about $420. My one big thing, I'm going to say this for the Commanders. I see a potential where they could actually win on Monday, and I'm going to tell you why. I think we are days maybe from an announcement about the quote unquote Washington football team. I refuse to call them the Commodores or the Condoms or whatever you want to call them. I think we're very close to an announcement that they're being sold. I think the buyer is going to be John Henry and the Fenway Sports Group. Very interesting to me that they've got Liverpool up for sale. The timing of that is not a coincidence whatsoever. I think that group is going to outbid the other participant, who's probably Jeff Bezos by all accounts. To buy that team, they're going to rebuild a stadium on the old site of RFK. It's going to be a lot of joy, a lot of hysteria around that team. I don't know if we're going to get it before Monday night's game, but I just see a scenario where the Commanders can win Monday night, and I think things are going to start pointing in the right direction for that franchise as soon as they get rid of Bozo.
Is that the same group that Jay-Z's involved in?
No, that's a different group. That's the group that owns.
No, Jay-Z's in the Bezos group.
Yeah, he's in the Bezos.
That's
group.
why I
There
think
you go.
I end up with him is Jay-Z. By the way, I didn't like it at first. Man, go back to Washington football team. The uniform,
I loved it.
The uniform actually don't look that bad with just the W on there. They wore the ones last week. I couldn't tell if it was like a really dark burgundy or a black, but those were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I was on the record as loving that name. It made them different from every other team in the league. It made them more like, I know not a lot of people are English Premier League fans, but just calling them the Washington football team was really unique, and they should have just left it the way it was. And again, their owner's a bonehead. So he had to come out and name them the Condoms or whatever they're called.
All I know is whoever buys that needs to be the first order of business is rename the team. Of course, if Bezos buys it, they're probably gonna be called the Primes or something, but
and hire Dion as the coach.
Smile on that
4 names in 4 years.
Yeah, that damn smile thing that they have on all your Amazon boxes, that'll be on the side of their helmets. Stephen, what is your one big thing as we walk it off?
One big thing, I think with the Steelers going to upset the Saints, and then the Seahawks are going to beat the Buccaneers, and that is just going to set the NFC South into just straight chaos. What is it going to be? The Panthers almost leading the division now. But
6. Magee said it earlier. 1st to 6.
That's my one big thing. My walk off though. This is my last show in this house. I'm moving on Thursday. Man, it's
Congrats,
I'm
buddy.
ready for it.
And hopefully that comes with a self-grooming kit.
Hey, at least I got the hair put up today.
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell
it.
if it was that or if you had a yarmulke on. I wasn't sure what the hell was going on. I was like, well, you know,
Or
fair
both.
enough. But then I remembered you were a Kyrie Irving fan, so I was like, it can't be yarmulke. My one big thing today. It's never too early. My one big thing today is college football. It's like Bobby said, we only got 3 of these real weekends left. I know we get the championship one soaking in, and there's better games than people realize. I think it's because there's not a big SEC showdown, so people aren't that excited about it. But go Noles, and I think that Oregon-Washington game has a chance to be in, and it's very important along with the TCU-Texas game. And then outside of that, in baseball, I think by the time this time next week, I got a feeling Dansby Swanson is going to be in Los Angeles. I really feel like the Dodgers are going after him. And he's a lot smarter on the books wise than signing someone like a Trey Turner. And for whatever reason, I don't think the Braves value him as much as they should. All right, guys. Great.
I think they look at his 25% strikeout rate the last 2 years and say we can do better.
But man, so one of their beat writers threw up a scenario this morning and basically said, if you go off all the other AAVs that they've been signing him to, would you? He put a poll up basically saying 6 years, 132 million would be that 22 AAV. Is that about right? Too much? What would you say if I were Brett, man, give it to me all day long, because their money's going to expand in the next few years. And he is a leader in that locker room, and you already lost Freddie Freeman. And I really feel like if you lose Dansby Swanson, who the hell becomes the leader? Because it's not Dan Acuna who's back there, who's watching the game as JT Realmuto is getting inside the Parker in the playoffs.
It's probably Austin Riley, honestly, him and Matt Olson.
Or maybe Ozzie Albies, but he's got to stay healthy. But I just feel like Vaughn Grissom's not ready, man. He's just not.
For my Big Ten sickos, Purdue, Illinois is on right now. Winner of that game probably ends up playing in Indianapolis against the winner of Ohio State, Michigan. So get your Big Ten network on. That's an interesting game.
All right, y'all.
Have a good day, gents.
See you next week.
See you guys.
Good job.
Goodbye, sweetheart. It's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. The Armchair Quarterbacks bring you Braves Country Baseball every Tuesday and Friday night, play-by-play with Mac Magee. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.